Chapter 1651 Inner Layer. 1651 Inner Layer. The wasteland was covered in darkness and no light could be seen. Jian Wushuang had been traveling forward. At that moment he was in the outer layer of the 8th layer. The outer layer contained very few star demons and their levels were not very high. Hence, it was suitable for eternal real gods to travel through. As for chaotic real gods, they would normally go straight to the inner layer of the 8th layer to travel. As for the top chaotic real gods, most of them would travel to the core area of the 8th layer. I have just come to the 8th layer and I have also just come into contact with a star demon. It is still a bit difficult for me to travel in the core. However, it is alright for me to travel in the inner layer. Jian Wushuang had already made up his mind. Comparing fighting capabilities, he was stronger than a normal chaotic real god. Jian Wushuang traveled at a fast speed. Along the way he came across some star demons. However, most of the star demons were the kind which had not grown up yet and Jian Wushuang was not interested in them. As such, he did not attack them. Instead, he made the best use of his time to continue traveling. Half a month later he arrived at the inner layer of the 8th layer for real. In the inner layer, the star demons are probably more powerful. Moreover, they are also slightly more concentrated in number compared to the outer layer where there are only 1 or 2 star demons together, Jian Wushuang murmured. All of a sudden, boom. Intense booming sounds could be heard from a distant black void. The booming sounds went on continuously and it was obvious that they were being generated from an intense battle. In the 8th layer, apart from the star demons, there can only be human cultivators. Hence, this intense battle should be between human cultivators and star demons. Jian Wushuang was interested. Let me go and take a look. Jian Wushuang headed toward the source of the sound at once. In no time he appeared in a void that was near the battlefield. While standing on top of the void, Jian Wushuang looked at the black open space in front of him. Even though the void was in total darkness, Jian Wushuang could still see everything that was happening on the open space clearly. Cultivator, food. There were close to 100 star demons gathered together. Most of the star demons had not grown up yet. However, there were horns on the heads of some of them. Although their level of intelligence was lower, their abilities were extremely shocking. In particular, those star demons with horns had frightening speed which could be compared to a normal eternal real gods. Moreover, in terms of fighting capabilities, they could compete with top void real gods. As for the person fighting against the star demons, he was a middle-aged man who wore black armor and a helmet and was holding a black giant axe on his hands. The middle-aged man had an imposing aura and a huge amount of divine power. While besieged by close to 100 star demons, he was still able to deal with them skillfully. When his body did a simple movement, it was as if he had swept past many black rays of light and the star demons with horns could only follow behind him. He then swung his giant axe randomly. Every stroke could kill tens of immature star demons easily. A massacre. It was a one-sided massacre. Although there were many star demons, their abilities were not strong. Hence, when they faced off against a chaotic real god, there was indeed only room for them to be massacred. Jian Wushuang could also tell with a glance that the black-armored middle-aged man planned to kill off all those immature star demons first before dealing with star demons that had horns. Those immature star demons only possess fighting capabilities of a top universe god. Thus, it would be easy for a real god to kill them. After a short while, those star demons would all be killed by him, Jian Wushuang murmured. However, his eyes did not contain any sympathy at all. The star demons were a special clan which existed for the purpose of massacre and destruction. Their existence had always been a disaster. Everyone could remember the time where the eternal chaotic world was plunged into a disaster due to the star demon clan. That was a long time ago. The star demons in the 8 layers had been multiplying in number and growing continuously. When their numbers reached a certain level, the space of the 8 stars became too small for them. As such, many star demons came out of the 8 layers and started to eat continuously, destroying many territories and cultivators in the process. After that, they continued to multiply and their numbers became even more shocking. At that point in time, countless experts in the eternal chaotic world became afraid of them. In order to stop the star demons, the almighties of the 10 sanctuaries formed the Sanctuary Alliance. In other words, the Sanctuary Alliance was born due to the threat of the star demon clan. After that, there was an unprecedentedly great battle between the Sanctuary Alliance and the Star Demon clan. Although many experts fell, the Sanctuary Alliance still won in the end with a decisive victory. With that, the Star Demon clan was chased back into the 8 layers. However, since the Star Demon clan was born inside the 8 layers, as long as the 8 layers continued to exist, the Star Demon clan would continue to multiply. However, every layer of the 8 layers was of Leviathan level. Thus, even if Emperor-level experts of the Sanctuary Alliance were to attack personally, they would be unable to destroy the layers. With that, they would naturally be unable to destroy the Star Demon clan completely. At most, they could only use some powerful spells and seals to seal up the 8 layers completely. Moreover, the Sanctuary Alliance also highly encouraged many experts to travel within the 8 layers to massacre the Star Demons. After all, they could only kill the newly born Star Demons as well as immature Star Demons, to prevent the Star Demon clan from ever posing a threat to the human being's sanctuary again. Jian Wushuang already knew about it. As such, when he saw the black-armored middle-aged man in front of him going on a killing spree, he did not feel disgusted about his actions in the slightest. Therefore, the Star Demons which were born for the sake of destruction were killed before they were able to grow up. A massacre by a chaotic real god expert was done with shocking speed. Within a short while, all the Star Demons, including those matured Star Demons with horns, were killed by the black-armored middle-aged man. At the same time, the black-armored middle-aged man also obtained many demon spirits as well as a few demon cores from the Star Demons. After keeping the demon spirits and demon cores, the black-armored middle-aged man looked toward Jian Wushuang. After observing for so long, isn't it about time for you to show yourself? The black-armored middle-aged man spoke and his voice could be heard. Jian Wushuang could not help laughing and he walked over without hesitation. Real God Kenyang, Jian Wushuang shouted and his face was filled with kindness. Jian Wushuang had stayed in the Thunderbolt Island for many years. Therefore, he had also searched for some information intentionally. With that, he possessed definite information regarding the Sanctuary Alliance, as well as definite information of many real gods in the eternal chaotic world. For example, he could recognize the black-armored middle-aged man in front of him with a glance. He was real God Kenyang, a chaotic real god within the Sanctuary Alliance who traveled by himself. A void real god? Real God Kenyang squinted his eyes slightly. You are Jian Wushuang? Chapter 1652 The Purpose of Demon Spiri. 1652 The Purpose of Demon Spiri. It's me, Jian Wushuang nodded. Humph, a void real god dares to wander in the 8th layer and come into the inner layer. You really have guts. Real God Kenyang harumphed coldly and there was a flash of a strange light in his eyes. He thought to himself, this Jian Wushuang, although he is only a void real god, he is the most outstanding disciple of lineage of Star and he is an inverse cultivator. Under normal circumstances, a top genius like him definitely received many opportunities and he definitely has quite a bit of possession. He might have more than a chaotic real god. If I were to kill him here. Real God Kenyang thought and immediately shook his head. Jian Wushuang isn't an idiot. He dared to come to wander in 8th layer so he definitely has a backer. Forget about the fact if I could kill him, even if I were to be lucky enough to kill him, the void that I'm in isn't cut off from the outside world, he could totally send out a message before he dies and have Lineage of Star take revenge on his behalf. I am merely a solo chaotic real god. If I were to really be watched by Lineage of Star, it would be difficult for me to move around Sanctuary Alliance and even the entire eternal chaotic world. Forget about it. Real God Kenyang made a decision in his mind. Young man, the 8th layer isn't like any other place. You are only a void real god. I hope you can stay alive for a while, Real God Kenyang said and then he turned to leave. Jian Wushuang stood there as he watched Real God Kenyang leave, but he squinted his eyes slightly. If I'm not mistaken, Real God Kenyang should have had the idea of killing me before. But in the end he gave up the idea, Jian Wushuang muttered. The change of Real God Kenyang's expression earlier, although it was greatly concealed, Jian Wushuang's soul power was spread out at all times and engulfed Real God Kenyang within. He could even see Real God Kenyang change his expression a slight bit. He naturally noticed Real God Kenyang's glimpse of murderous intention. He should be worried about the lineage of Star that is backing me up. He was worried that he couldn't kill me there and then. He was also worried that I would send out a message before I die. After all, the void around here isn't cut off from the outside world. He could only give up the idea. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. The 8th layer was a special space. In most places, space and the outside world could keep in contact and they could send messages to one another. However, there were also many spaces that were cut off from the outside world. There was an area in the space that couldn't send out any messages. The place that Jian Wushuang was at then belonged to the former. It seems that Hall Master Yuan is right. When I am wandering in the 8th lair, not only must I be careful of the Star Demon clan and some natural danger, but I also must be careful of other experts who are wandering in the lair, Jian Wushuang said to himself. On the way to the 8th lair, Hall Master Yuan exhorted him about this. Sanctuary Alliance looked like an entire entity. But after all, it was united by huge forces and solo experts. The internal power of Sanctuary Alliance was complicated and they were in a constant fight. War and massacre between themselves were very common. They naturally weren't of one mind. Even when they were in the 8th lair, the experts in Sanctuary Alliance would fight and scheme against one another. As long as there was interest, they would massacre and fight. About that, the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance could do nothing about it but gave free rein. I am the most outstanding disciple of lineage of Star and I am an inverse cultivator. I must have received many opportunities. The experts in Sanctuary Alliance definitely know that and it is inevitable that they will have wicked ideas. Jian Wushuang lifted the corner of his lips but his gaze grew cold. Regardless, I'll do what I need to do. I do not find trouble with others. But if there were to be people who dared to make trouble with me, there would be no need for me to be polite. Then Jian Wushuang didn't continue to stay but started wandering in the surrounding dark void. In the inner layer of the 8th lair it was much bigger. The scattering of Star Demon was more densely populated. Jian Wushuang let out his soul power and wandered in the inner layer. He could find Star Demons with ease. Die. Jian Wushuang's soul power formed into a soul storm and covered the dozens of Star Demons before him. Among the dozens of Star Demons, there was only one adult Star Demon with a horn. Faced with Jian Wushuang's soul attack, only the Star Demon with a horn among the dozens of Star Demons withstood it. The other Star Demons were killed. Just as Jian Wushuang moved, he creepily appeared next to the adult Star Demon. A sword light swept out and it cut off the adult Star Demon's head. Then Jian Wushuang started searching for Demon Spirit and Demon Core. In a short while. Not bad, I found 9 Demon Spirit and 1 Demon Core, Jian Wushuang smiled. The Star Demon clan, although they are the only magical creature that knows how to destroy and massacre, the demon spirit in their bodies is an extremely pure strength. The strength is extremely useful to a cultivator. Jian Wushuang spread his hand and there were 9 extremely pure unique currents. The 9 currents were the 9 demon spirits. Besides, he also had a black crystal. The crystal was a magic core. In the magic core there was a vast and pure strength. The demon spirit and the strength in the demon core are so pure. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but compliment. He could feel it clearly that demon spirits were an extremely high-end strength with no impurity. Such strength was put before him and Jian Wushuang had the idea to swallow and absorb it. Let's give it a try. Jian Wushuang took in the first demon spirit into his body without hesitation. He raised the demon spirit and it was immediately absorbed into his divine body. What's going on? Why can't I feel anything? Jian Wushuang was shocked. With confusion he continued to absorb the second demon spirit, the third demon spirit, and the remaining 8 demon spirits altogether. He took in 9 demon spirits in one but Jian Wushuang didn't feel any difference in his divine body. That's not right. Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed. There's nothing different with my divine body but my divine power, it seems to have improved. Yes, it improved. My ultimate divine power feels like much more than before. Jian Wushuang's eyes twinkled with joy. I understand now. This demon spirit is absorbed and transformed into a cultivator's divine power. The speed of transformation is extremely fast. In other words, as long as one can absorb a large number of demon spirits, the divine power in cultivator's body will increase tremendously. There isn't a need to accumulate divine power through cultivation. Then Jian Wushuang was filled with excitement. Chapter 1653 Jian Wushuang's Frenzy of Deligh. 1653 Jian Wushuang's Frenzy of Deligh. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed brilliantly like never before and he was also extremely delighted. After that, Jian Wushuang looked at the demon core. Read more chapter on novel full. The demon core contained extremely pure power which was similar to the demon spirit. However, the demon core contained more power compared to the demon spirit. I really wish that was the case. Jian Wushuang suppressed his excitement forcefully and started to absorb the power within the demon core. His speed of absorption was very fast like before. After a short while, the demon core, which was originally like a gem, had already been reduced to a normal black stone. As for the pure power within the demon core, all of it had been absorbed by Jian Wushuang and changed into divine power. Jian Wushuang could feel very clearly that the ultimate divine power within his body had increased greatly compared to before. Although he still lacked the power to form the second ultimate divine power water droplet, he was already very close to forming it. As expected. Haha. With that, Jian Wushuang could no longer suppress the happiness within his heart and he laughed loudly without any restraint. Delightfulness. This was definitely delight as it was something that Jian Wushuang had never expected. As such, it could be said to be a delight that he never had before. It should be known that Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. After making a breakthrough to real God, he became an ultimate real God who possessed an ultimate body and ultimate divine power. At the start, there was only one droplet of ultimate divine power which was considered very little. As such, Jian Wushuang had to restrict himself when he fought. With that, he had to rely on his own training to accumulate power so that his divine power would increase. From there, he would be able to form the second and third ultimate divine power water droplet. When the 10th ultimate divine power water droplet was formed, he would be able to make a breakthrough to become a stage 2 ultimate real God. That was the condition for an inverse cultivator to make a breakthrough. He only required sufficient divine power and there were no other conditions. In other words, if Jian Wushuang wished to make a breakthrough, he would only need to continue raising his own divine power to form more ultimate divine power water droplets. He was unlike a normal cultivator. For normal cultivators, their divine power had to achieve its limit and they must also have a certain level of comprehension of the power of Heaven Way. In addition, there were also requirements in many other areas such as unique skills. It was only by fulfilling all these conditions that they could make a breakthrough. However, it was not very easy for one to raise his ultimate divine power as he would need to accumulate power continuously for many years. Of course, he could also do so with the help of some resources or treasures that helped to raise one's divine power. Discounting the prices of those resources and treasures, the main thing was that they were of little help to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had tried taking some elixirs which raised one's divine power in the Thunderbolt Island. However, after taking 10 of them, which were worth 5 doctrine gems, his divine power had barely increased. A normal treasure is not of much use in helping me raise my ultimate divine power. Previously, I thought that I could only train for many years to accumulate power in order to make a breakthrough. However, now, Jian Wushuang was so excited that his body trembled. He had never expected the demon spirits and demon cores within the Star Demon Clan's bodies to actually have the ability to raise his ultimate divine power greatly. After absorbing only 1 demon core and 9 demon spirits, the ultimate divine power in his body skyrocketed. If he were to obtain a sufficient number of demon cores, his ultimate divine power would definitely increase at an unbelievable speed. Demon cores. I need a large number of demon cores and demon spirits. Jian Wushuang was clenching both his fists tightly. At the next moment he started to search the area unreservedly. Just like before, he searched for traces of the star demons. Previously, Jian Wushuang did not have strong urges to kill star demons. However, at that very moment, it was completely different. He yearned to find star demons and kill them so that he would be able to obtain the demon spirits and demon cores within their bodies. There's 28 star demons over there. In particular, there are 2 mature one-horned star demons but the remaining ones are still immature. I will kill all of them. There's only 13 star demons here. However, they are all immature. I do not need to care so much as I will still kill all of them. Ah, great. There's actually more than 80 star demons here. Among them there are 4 mature one-horned star demons. In addition, there's actually 1 two-horned star demon. Ah, this is excellent. Jian Wushuang was massacring the star demons in the inner layer of the 8th layer crazily. His divine power and body were at the level of a chaotic real god. Moreover, his comprehension of the power of Heaven Way had already reached the level where it could clear the 5th level of the Doctrine Palace. By factoring in his numerous techniques as well, his fighting capabilities could rival a top chaotic real god and he was also stronger than real god Long Qing who was hired to help him in the Blood Demon Church. With such fighting capabilities he could travel around the core area of the 8th layer. As for the inner layer he could go anywhere he wanted. Naturally, it was also easy for him to massacre the star demons in the inner layer. Time passed by and in a flash Jian Wushuang had already traveled for a total of 3 years in the inner layer. During the 3 years, although he had covered an enormous distance, it was still considered nothing when it was compared to how big the whole inner layer was. Atop the void, which was in complete darkness, Jian Wushuang, who was clothed in a crimson long robe and carrying a long sword, was flying forward slowly. Occasionally, blasts of cold wind would blow toward him and blow up his robe. However, it was unable to cause his body and mind to be shaken. At the very moment Jian Wushuang was playing with his Chen Kuan ring and muttering to himself, although there are more star demons in the inner layer than the outer layer, they are not everywhere in the inner layer. For the past 3 years, I have been searching extremely hard for the traces of the star demons so that I can massacre them. However, even with this, I only obtained a few demon cores and demon spirits. Although he had massacred a huge number of star demons over the past 3 days, most of them were immature star demons. Hence, not many of them possessed demon spirits and there were even fewer demon cores. He was not in a rush to absorb the demon spirits and demon cores. As such, he put them within his Chen Kuan ring. Jian Wushuang had just done a thorough check of his inventory. At that very moment, his Chen Kuan ring contained 361 demon spirits, as well as 19 demon cores. Among the demon cores, there were 2 grade 2 demon cores of 2-horn star demons. The pure power that the demon spirits contained is totally incomparable to the demon cores. Although I have 361 demon spirits, they are merely equivalent to 3 or 4 grade 1 demon cores. By counting it this way, I currently have 22 grade 1 demon cores and 2 grade 2 demon cores, Jian Wushuang murmured. In the eternal chaotic world, a demon core from a 1-horn star demon was worth 2 doctrine gems. A grade 2 demon core was worth about 10 doctrine gems. By counting it this way, Jian Wushuang had profited greatly from the past 3 years. However, Jian Wushuang was not satisfied. After all, his ultimate divine power was a lot more powerful than the normal divine power. Thus, he naturally required a more shocking number of demon cores. Chapter 1654, 3-horned star demon. 1654 3-horned star demon. With just the demon cores that he had obtained so far, Jian Wushuang felt that he could at most be able to form the second ultimate divine power water droplet. If he wanted to form the third ultimate divine power water droplet, he would need more demon cores. I have to continue my massacre and think of a way to get more demon cores. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing with a shrill light. At that moment, that is. Jian Wushuang's expression changed abruptly and his eyes could not help but look in a direction. At the end of that direction, there was a star demon moving forward slowly within the detection range of Jian Wushuang's soul power. Compared to the other star demons, that star demon was slightly bigger and its body was more robust. However, what really attracted Jian Wushuang's attention were the 3 horns on that star demon's forehead. A star demon with 3 horns would possess fighting capabilities equivalent to that of a chaotic real god. Moreover, a portion of the body of the 3-horned star demon ahead of him was green in color. Although it was only one portion of its body, it still caused Jian Wushuang's eyes to turn grave. Luckily, this 3-horned star demon has yet to turn green completely. If not, with my current abilities, it would be very difficult to deal with it, Jian Wushuang said. He knew that there were 3 kinds of 3-horned star demons. The first kind was a 3-horned star demon with its body completely black in color. Such a 3-horned star demon would possess fighting capabilities equivalent to that of a normal chaotic real god. The next kind was a 3-horned star demon which was green in color and it possessed fighting capabilities equivalent to that of a top chaotic real god. The last kind was a 3-horned star demon which was crimson in color and it possessed fighting capabilities equivalent to that of an expert in the real god ranking list. As for the 3-horned star demon in front of him, its body had a mix of both black and green colors. Thus, it was obvious that its fighting capabilities had not achieved the level of a top chaotic real god yet. 3-horned star demons are a lot stronger than 2-horned and 1-horned star demons. As such, the demon core in its body definitely possesses a greater amount of pure power. Also, 1 grade 3 demon core is probably comparable to tens of grade 1 demon cores. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing brilliantly. His body moved at once and he headed toward the 3-horned star demon. Atop the dark land, the 3-horned star demon, which was emitting a destructive aura, was moving forward slowly. However, all of a sudden, the 3-horned star demon which had been moving forward became alarmed. With that, it turned its body fiercely and its scarlet eyes on its head locked on instantly to Jian Wushuang, who was approaching quietly. A human cultivator? Die. A sharp cry could be heard from the 3-horned star demon. After that, its body turned into a black lightning instantly and moved straight away. The higher the level of a star demon, the more intelligent it was. For example, immature star demons only knew how to eat. However, when they became a three-horned star demon, they would possess a certain level of intelligence. I have been discovered? Jian Wushuang was a bit surprised. He had concealed his aura intentionally and approached the three-horned star demon quietly. However, he did not expect the three-horned star demon to be so vigilant. Since I cannot launch a surprise attack, I shall clash with it head-on. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with murderous intent and his blood mountain sword had already appeared on his hands. In addition, he had also stopped concealing his aura and unleashed it completely. Rumble, a great amount of aura spread toward the three-horned star demon. By holding his sword with one hand, Jian Wushuang became like a big bow and the blood mountain sword on his hand became an arrow. With that, he shot his sword like an arrow straight away. Swish! The sword light whistled and ripped open the void in front of him immediately. Die! The three-horned star demon's eyes were scarlet in color. When black light appeared from its body, a great amount of destructive power gathered in its right hand. It then swung its claws with lightning speed. Bam! With a loud sound, Jian Wushuang was sent flying at once. What a strong power! It feels like it is considerably stronger than a normal chaotic real god. Jian Wushuang was shocked. However, at that moment, the three-horned star demon changed into a black shadow, did two simple leaps on the void and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang again. Its sharp claws then attacked fiercely again. It is also very fast. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. His blood mountain sword on his hands then gave a cry and attacked immediately. Boom. Their attacks clashed and after that, they began to fight a close-quarters battle. While Jian Wushuang was fighting an intense battle with the three-horned star demon, there were two figures moving forward at a void that was not too far away. Among the two of them, one of them was a plump, bald-headed young man, while the other one was a black-robed old man who looked quite arrogant. The two of them had also released their consciousness to search for traces of star demons. They had already searched for 3 consecutive months. However, they had only managed to find a small number of star demons. As such, when they split the demon spirits and demon cores that they had obtained, there were so few of them that it was pathetic. In the end, there are too few star demons in the inner layer, the black-robed arrogant old man said. There are many star demons in the core region. If you are strong enough, you can be like real god Ziyi and go over there, the plump bald-headed young man laughed. Humph, real god Ziyi is a top chaotic real god and he is not too far away from the real god ranking list. Hence, how can I be compared to him? The black-robed arrogant old man curled his lips and said. Then stop saying unnecessary things and continue to search. Since we have not been in the inner layer for long, we will naturally not have too many demon cores. However, as time passes by and we continue to accumulate them slowly, we will definitely make some gains in the end, the bald-headed young man said. You're right, the black-robed arrogant old man nodded his head. However, at that moment, boom, boom. Soft booming sounds could be heard from a void that was far away. Even though the sounds were very soft as they came from very far away, the black-robed arrogant old man and the bald-headed young man were chaotic real gods. Hence, they were naturally able to hear it. Someone is fighting an intense battle ahead of us? The black-robed arrogant old man's expression changed. Let's go and take a look, the bald-headed young man said. The two of them then headed for the source of the sound straight away. Boom, 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 boom. Soft clashing sounds could be heard and two figures were fighting against each other madly at the black void. Both of them had shocking speed. As they clashed, the impact generated from their clash caused the surrounding void to be torn into pieces. In addition, the ground below them was also in such a tragic state that it was horrible to look at. Whoosh! The sharp claws from the three-horned star demon's right hand ripped open the void and came in front of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang then retreated and avoided the attack easily. This three-horned star demon is very impressive in both its attacks and speed. Thus, it is slightly stronger than normal chaotic real gods. Even though its attack moves are simple, they are still frightening. At least, if a normal chaotic real god were to fight it, he would probably end up in a tragic state, Jian Wushuang murmured. However, at that moment, the three-horned star demon in front of him opened its fierce-looking mouth. Its fierce-looking mouth was already extremely huge to begin with. However, at that moment, its mouth expanded abruptly and it looked as though a giant rift had appeared from the black space. The rift then headed toward Jian Wushuang's body. It actually wants to swallow me in one gulp? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Chapter 1655 Extermination. 1655 Extermination. Whoosh. Jian Wushuang's body turned vague and thousands upon thousands of shadows appeared at the same time. When the three-horned star demon's large and fiercely looking mouth attacked, it swallowed 10 shadows straight away. After the three-horned star demon chewed a few times, it realized that no physical substance existed. It then became infuriated at once, and from its scarlet eyes, buzz. A giant scarlet light burst forth, just like a scarlet sun, and the universe, which was in complete darkness, was illuminated with a crimson color. After that, the three-horned star demon turned its body and the scarlet light from its eyes shone on Jian Wushuang's shadows, causing them to dissipate. What's that? Jian Wushuang frowned, and his real body was illuminated by the crimson light as well. In no time, an unreasonable power entered his brain and clashed with the soul power inside his sea of consciousness fiercely. At that moment, Jian Wushuang felt some pain from his brain. However, he recovered quickly. Damn it. This star demon actually knows consciousness attacks. Moreover, its consciousness attacks are very powerful. Jian Wushuang was shocked. When the crimson light shone on him, he indeed experienced a powerful consciousness attack which was at the level of a chaotic real god. Although his soul was at the level of an eternal real god, it was fortunate that his soul power was extremely tough and he was able to withstand the consciousness attack. All of a sudden, the three-horned star demon opened its large, fierce-looking mouth again. This time around, its mouth did not head toward Jian Wushuang. Instead, its mouth continued to open up with a shocking speed. In the end, its mouth covered half a void and it looked just like a giant black hole. Straight away after that, a frightening swallowing force burst forth from its mouth abruptly, and it looked as if the universe had been swallowed. A great amount of dust and broken stones rose from the dark land at once, and they were sucked into the three-horned star demon's mouth. Jian Wushuang stood in the void like before, and he was affected by the frightening swallowing force as well. Even if it were him, he could not withstand the force and he was about to be sucked into the mouth. What a strong swallowing force. Seems like this three-horned star demon is extremely determined to swallow me. Jian Wushuang's eyes were icy cold. By swallowing me you might be so full that your stomach explodes. Jian Wushuang gave a cold hum. However, a vast amount of divine power was gathering on the index finger of his right hand crazily. Ancient God's fifth finger, get through difficulty. With a cry from Jian Wushuang, his right index finger, which had gathered its maximum amount of power, pointed abruptly. Rumble, a great amount of ancient God power which was mixed with Jian Wushuang's ultimate divine power that could rival that of a chaotic real god gathered on the void madly. In no time it was changed into a giant hand. The whole giant hand was pitch black in color and it was emitting a dim light. The giant hand then stretched outward and its index finger contained a huge amount of power. This power was extremely special and it was just like a complete reincarnation. When the index finger of the giant hand was pointed, it headed toward the three-horned star demon's large, fierce-looking mouth. Ever since Jian Wushuang had made a breakthrough to become a six-star ancient god, he could use the get-through difficulty finger easily. Moreover, the power that he had unleashed was at its strongest. Boom. Fierce booming sounds, which were accompanied by a shrill and miserable scream, could be heard. At the same time, the huge amount of divine power dissipated quickly as well. The three-horned star demon's body had returned to normal. At that very moment, its hands were covering its enormous mouth and it looked like it was in extreme pain. Time for me to stop playing with you. While staring at the three-horned star demon in front of him, Jian Wushuang raised his blood mountain sword high up in the air. At the moment when he raised his sword, an overbearing sword essence burst forth as well. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Crimson shadows gathered on the dark void hastily and there was a total of 38 sword shadows. That's right. There were 38 shadows. Before Jian Wushuang made a breakthrough, he could only create 16 sword shadows when he used his full power. However, after he made a breakthrough, his level of comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei increased greatly. As such, the number of sword shadows that he could create increased to 38. For the 38 crimson sword shadows, every one of them was so powerful that it was suffocating and terrifying. However, at that very moment, the 38 crimson sword shadows were superimposed onto one another perfectly. Rumble. After the 38 crimson sword shadows fused, a huge sword shadow was formed. This huge sword shadow contained an earth-shaking amount of power and it was extremely close to a stage 3 peak real god unique skill. Myriad waves kill? With a shrill cry from Jian Wushuang, he swung the long sword on his hands down straight away. At the same time, The new sword shadow which was formed from the 38 crimson sword shadows also attacked fiercely. At once, the universe shook and all living beings trembled in fear. The three-horned star demon was still in pain and it had not regained its composure. However, at that very moment, it still managed to sense danger coming its way and it raised its head. The moment it raised its head, the crimson blood shadow which could cover the whole sky enveloped him completely. Rumbled frightening power burst forth. It was as if the whole universe was welcoming the end of the world. The impact from the attack continued for 2 breaths of time before dissipating completely. Jian Wushuang's body turned vague and he appeared at the center of the source of the power. There was a badly injured body over there and it belonged to the three-horned star demon. However, no matter how badly injured the three-horned star demon's body was, the demon core in its body would still be undamaged. The demon core was extremely hard. As it was filled with a large amount of pure power, even an almighty's attack would not be able to destroy it. With a wave of Jian Wushuang's hand, a demon core which was bigger in size than any other demon core, appeared in Jian Wushuang's hands. Moreover, the demon core was not only black in color, it was also mixed with green color. When Jian Wushuang swept his soul power past the demon core, he could sense a great amount of pure power from it. As expected, the pure power that a grade 3 demon core contains is incomparable to even tens of grade 1 demon cores. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with delight. However, at that moment, Jian Wushuang's expression changed and he saw the 2 shadows which were approaching him from afar. Jian Wushuang frowned and he put the grade 3 demon core into his Chen-Kuan ring immediately. Although Jian Wushuang's reaction was fast, the scene of him holding a grade 3 demon core was still seen by the 2 people who were rushing over. That's a grade 3 demon core? The black-robed arrogant old man opened his eyes wide. Yes, it's indeed a grade 3 demon core. The plump, bald-headed young man was shocked. Grade 3 demon cores were rarely seen. At the very least, it was difficult to get them in the inner layer of the 8th layer. After all, there were so few three-horned star demons in the inner layer to the point that it was pathetic. Not mentioning the luck needed to come across a three-horned star demon, even if one were to come across a three-horned star, a normal chaotic real god would be unable to kill it. Chapter 1656 Greedy. 1656 Greedy. For example, the black-robed arrogant old man and the plump, bald-headed young man had already traveled many times in the inner layer of the 8th layer. Moreover, they also stayed in the inner layer for quite a long period of time for every trip. However, up till that moment they had never obtained a grade 3 demon core before. However, at that moment they saw a grade 3 demon core appearing in front of them and it was being put into someone else's Chen-Kuan ring. Avoid real god. This person is the genius Jian Wushuang from the lineage of Star. The 2 of them recognized Jian Wushuang instantly. Swoosh. Swoosh. The 2 of them stopped at a short distance away from Jian Wushuang and their eyes started to scan the surroundings. They could tell that an intense battle had just taken place at their location. Moreover, they also see the body of the three-horned star demon, which was badly damaged. Could Jian Wushuang have killed that three-horned star demon? The bald-headed young man frowned. He is the only person here. Hence he must be one who killed it. However, we do not know how he managed to do it. The black-robed arrogant old man was squinting his eyes. The 2 of them were a bit late and they were unable to witness the scene of Jian Wushuang killing the three-horned star demon. Thus, they questioned the method that Jian Wushuang had used to kill the three-horned star demon. After all, while Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator with an extremely high level of comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei that was said to be able to clear the 5th level of the Doctrine Palace, he was still a void real god in the end. Moreover, he was just a void real god who had just made a breakthrough recently. How could a void real god kill a three-horned star demon that both of them were helpless against? Unless they saw it with their own eyes, they would not believe it even if they died. A grade 3 demon core. The black-robed arrogant old man was licking his lips. The higher the level of a demon core, the higher its cost. A grade 1 demon core is worth about 2 doctrine gems. However, a grade 2 demon core is worth about 11 to 12 doctrine gems. As for a grade 3 demon core, I have heard that someone had wanted to trade 100 doctrine gems for a grade 3 demon core. However, no one cared about him. After all, only idiots would use grade 3 demon cores to trade for doctrine gems. As grade 3 demon cores contain a great amount of pure power, if they were used to manufacture elixirs, the elixirs would definitely be able to recover a chaotic real god's divine power fully in a short amount of time. Hence, if the elixirs were used properly, it would be the same as having an extra life. However, it's a pity that the Grade 3 Demon Core has landed in the hands of Jian Wushuang. The bald-headed young man shook his head. Xueling, have you realized that the space that we are in is completely cut off from the outside world? The black-robed, arrogant old man said abruptly. Eh? The bald-headed young man was stunned and he tried to communicate with the outside world immediately. However, he realized that his message could not be sent out. I see. The bald-headed young man's eyes turned grave and he looked toward the black-robed, arrogant old man at once. What are you trying to say? What do you think? Why did both of us decide to team up back then? The black-robed, arrogant old man laughed coldly. This Jian Wushuang has obtained a Grade 3 Demon Core. Moreover, he is also the apple of the lineage of Star's Eye as well as a top genius. Therefore he is full of treasures. If we were to kill him, our gains. However, isn't he someone who is able to kill a 3-horned star demon? The bald-headed young man was a bit hesitant. Ah. Do you really think that a void real god can kill a 3-horned star demon? The black-robed, arrogant old man sneered. In any case, I don't believe it. Also, even if we are unable to kill him, we can just leave immediately. What can he do to us? You're right. The bald-headed young man nodded his head and made up his mind. Since that's the case, let's do it. I had been waiting for you to say that. The black-robed, arrogant old man's eyes became gloomy and cold. Their simple conversation only lasted for a short while. Moreover, they had set up a seal intentionally during their conversation. As such, Jian Wushuang did not know what they were talking about. Of course, Jian Wushuang realized that something was amiss from their actions. However, he was still not in a rush to leave. Real God Xueling and Real God Gu Ying of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. The two of them are normal chaotic real gods. Even if they were to team up, they would not be a threat to me. I really wish to see what the both of them plan to do. Jian Wushuang floating at his position quietly and he had nothing to fear. At that moment, the black-robed, arrogant old man and the bald-headed young man finally finished their conversation. Their eyes then looked toward Jian Wushuang. Congratulations, Jian Wushuang. You have actually obtained a Grade 3 Demon Core. The black-robed, arrogant old man known as Real God Guing laughed. His face was also filled with graciousness. I was just lucky. Jian Wushuang was neither haughty nor humble. What about the two of you? Even though both of you are chaotic real gods, both of you teamed up. Aren't both of you thinking too highly of the star demons in the inner layer? Ah. Both of us just happened to run into each other and we will split up soon. Real God Guing laughed. He then said firmly straight away, Jian Wushuang, I have a presumptuous request and I hope that you will agree to it. Tell me the request. Jian Wushuang's expression turned cold. I want the Grade 3 Demon Core that you have and I am willing to use 10 Doctrine Gems to exchange for it. Deal. Real God Guing said while laughing. 10 Doctrine Gems? No problem, Jian Wushuang grinned. With a flip of his hands, the Grade 3 Demon Core appeared on his hands. The Demon Core is here. Real God Guing, you may come over and take it. Without standing on ceremony, Real God Guing headed toward Jian Wushuang immediately. However, at the moment where he appeared in the void, less than 100 meters away from Jian Wushuang, swish. All of a sudden, a brilliant sword light appeared. The sword light was not just dazzling. Under the influence of the power of spacetime, it pierced through the void and headed for Real God Gu Ying's head. Humph, I knew that you would do this. Real God Gu Ying was not surprised in the slightest. He then extended his big hands and grabbed the sword light with his strength. The void twisted open and the sword light that Jian Wushuang unleashed exploded when it was crushed. Jian Wushuang could not help but retreat a few steps and his laughter was filled with ridicule. If the both of you wish to snatch my Grade 3 Demon Core away from me, just say it openly. There is no need to be so hypocritical. Hypocritical? Coldness and gloominess flashed past Real God Gu Ying's eyes. Xueling, let's attack together and kill this little kid. All right. Real God Xueling, who was at the back, nodded his head and his powerful aura was unleashed instantly. At that moment, the two chaotic real gods revealed their strongest abilities right away. A giant, ancient black hammer could be seen appearing on Real God Gu Ying's hands. Moreover, the black giant hammer also contained bits of thunderbolt power. After Real God Gu Ying gave a cry, the black giant hammer expanded instantly. Rustle, the giant hammer was accompanied by an infinite amount of thunderbolt power and it headed toward Jian Wushuang as though a thunder god had descended. As for Real God Xueling, he was holding a crimson long spear tightly. When he swung the long spear, a great amount of divine power appeared and blood mist which could cover the whole sky spilled out instantly. The blood mist then gathered in the void and changed into crimson giant dragons after a short while. There was a total of 9 crimson giant dragons and they attacked at the same time with shocking power. Chapter 1657 being killed instead. 1657 being killed instead. Jian Wushuang stood in the dark void. He was staring at the black giant hammer which contained an infinite amount of thunderbolt power, as well as the 9 crimson giant dragons which were both aimed at him. He could feel the power that the 2 attacks were releasing clearly. 2 chaotic real gods have teamed up straight away and used their full power from the get-go. They really think highly of me, Jian Wushuang laughed indifferently. However, a vast amount of divine power containing ancient god power had already risen from his body. Jian Wushuang changed into a 100-foot-tall ancient god body and there were 6 stars on the space between his eyebrows. Universal laws. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned imposing and many ancient god shadows appeared behind him. Similarly, those ancient god shadows were extremely huge. They were standing behind Jian Wushuang and there were hundreds of them. The shadows were all staring strongly. With a wave of Jian Wushuang's big hands, the ancient god shadows behind him also swung their palms at the same time. Rumble. Hundreds of palm prints attacked at the same time. When a palm print attacked alone, it was not very powerful. However, the key point was that there were many of them. In no time, the hundreds of palm prints clashed with the black giant hammer and the 9 crimson giant dragons. Bam, 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 bam. Fierce booming sounds shook the heavens and real god Xueling as well as real god Guiying were completely swallowed up by the palm prints. The 9 crimson giant dragons that real god Xueling unleashed were dissipated by the attack and real god Guiying's crimson giant hammer attack was repelled. However, at that moment, Jian Wushuang, who was originally standing in his original position, dashed forward fiercely. Thousands upon thousands of shadows burst forth at the same time. Jian Wushuang's body was like a ghost and he appeared behind real god Guiying in an instant. Real god Guiying's expression changed slightly as he had already sensed Jian Wushuang's body behind him. Jian Wushuang's body was covered with a dark golden light and he was emitting a great amount of power. With his left hand holding his sword, he raised his right hand slowly and his index finger pointed toward real god Guiying from afar. When he stuck out his finger, the void collapsed straight away. An ancient, pitch-black giant hand, which contained frightening power, appeared out of thin air and attacked real god Guiying fiercely. Although real god Guiying was a chaotic real god, he could not help but feel fearful at that moment. This power. Real god Guiying gritted his teeth and he raised his black giant hammer, which contained an infinite amount of thunderbolt power, again. With a rustling sound, the thunderbolt power shattered the void and everything else into pieces. It then changed into a thunder god hammer and struck the approaching giant finger. Bam! A giant black hole appeared out of thin air. The black hole contained a great amount of thunderbolt power which was dancing in it, and it looked just like a thunder prison. However, in the thunder prison, a ray of black light was glowing even more brilliantly and by going along real god Guiying's arm, it struck his body directly. Puff! Real god Guiying gave a groan and his expression turned ghastly pale. Moreover, his body had also retreated quickly. It was only after a long time that he regained his posture. What a great power! Even though I unleashed my strongest move, I was still pushed back? Real god Guiying had already opened his eyes wide and he was filled with fear. Guiying, be careful, a strict cry could be heard. What? Real god Guiying's expression changed greatly as he had already seen the ghost-like shadow which had appeared behind him at some point in time. Moreover, the shadow had already swung the long sword on his hands. With that, an icy cold sword light ripped open the void mercilessly and headed for his head. It was too close to him and its speed was too fast. As such, real god Guiying did not have the ability to dodge the attack. Swish! Real god Guiying's head was sent flying. Before his consciousness dissipated completely, real god Guiying was still filled with disbelief. How can his speed be so fast? He did not know that Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the spacetime doctrine had already cleared the 5th level of the Doctrine Palace. On top of that, by unleashing his attack with chaotic real god-level divine power, he would be more powerful than many of the top chaotic real gods. Since real god Guiying did not know about this, Jian Wushuang naturally exceeded his expectations. In just an extremely short period of time, real god Guiying, who was filled with murderous intent, and who had wanted to kill Jian Wushuang moments ago, was dead. Run! I have to run away quickly. Upon witnessing the death of real god Guiying, real god Xueling suppressed his fears and escaped immediately. He had always been far away from Jian Wushuang. Moreover, he was proficient in speed. On top of that, he reacted straight away by unleashing his secret skill to escape. As such, even Jian Wushuang was unable to give chase, and he could only look on as real god Xueling's body disappeared. Even though they are merely two normal chaotic real gods, they still dared to lay their hands on me. They are really quite gutsy, Jian Wushuang sneered, and he came beside real god Gu Ying's body immediately. With a wave of his hands, he destroyed real god Gu Ying's body. As for real god Gu Ying's treasures and Chen Kuan ring, they naturally landed in Jian Wushuang's hands. After Jian Wushuang scanned through real god Gu Ying's Chen Kuan ring, he became disappointed. Even though he is a chaotic real god, he only has these few items? Moreover, he has only obtained 6 demon cores? Not to mention they are all grade 1 demon cores. Jian Wushuang was not interested in the treasures in real god Gu Ying's Chen Kuan ring. Although he was a normal chaotic real god, all his items amounted to 1 to 200 doctrine gems. However, Jian Wushuang was not too concerned with that. He was more concerned about the demon cores. It was obvious that 6 grade 1 demon cores were unable to satisfy him. However, it was still considered a gain. After getting real god Gu Ying's Chen Kuan ring, by taking into account his demon cores and converting his demon spirits into demon cores, I currently have a total of 28 grade 1 demon cores, 2 grade 2 demon cores and a grade 3 demon core. With this number of demon cores, I should be able to raise my ultimate divine power by quite a bit. Jian Wushuang could not help but clench his fists. Filled with excitement, Jian Wushuang left the battlefield immediately. In a split second, he opened up a simple cave on a dark mountain and started to absorb the pure power within the demon spirits as well as demon cores. From the vast void, real god Xueling had been escaping miserably. It was only after running for an hour's time and confirming that Jian Wushuang had stopped chasing him that he stopped. That Jian Wushuang has actually become so strong? Real god Xueling's eyes were still filled with shock. It should be known that when real god Gu Ying and he had decided to lay their hands on Jian Wushuang, they had made nothing of him. They had seen the 3-horned star demon that Jian Wushuang had killed. However, in their eyes they felt that Jian Wushuang had used some special means such as the famous secret skill of Star Palace of the lineage of Star. In the end, Jian Wushuang was merely a void real god. However, in actual fact, that was obviously not the case. Chapter 1658 3 Droplets. 1658 3 Droplets. That Jian Wushuang has definitely killed a 3-horned star demon head-on. Real god Xueling was murmuring, real god Gu Ying and I are genuine chaotic real gods. When we teamed up, both of us unleashed our full powers right off the bat. However, we were still easily suppressed by Jian Wushuang in the end. Moreover, real god Gu Ying was killed on the spot. Jian Wushuang's abilities. A top chaotic real god. That's right. Jian Wushuang definitely has the fighting capabilities of a top chaotic real god. Moreover, he is also comparable to real god Ziyi of our Soaring Heaven King Palace. But he is only a void real god. Real god Xueling's mind was filled with shock, and it was only after a long time that he calmed down. After that, he took out a transmission token and sent a message to the higher-ups of the Soaring Heaven King Palace to inform them of the matter. The higher-ups of the Soaring Heaven King Palace also replied quickly. Jian Wushuang, I admit that you are an unbelievable genius. However, the experts of the Soaring Heaven King Palace are not people who you can kill as and when you like. Real god Xueling's eyes were scarlet in color. Inside the cave that Jian Wushuang opened, he had been sitting down with his legs crossed and he was absorbing the demon spirits and demon cores that he had obtained so far with great concentration. As Jian Wushuang absorbed them, he realized that the pure power within the demon spirits and demon cores was not as simple as he had expected. When he was absorbing the pure power previously, he had absorbed them forcefully. Although there would not be any side effects in doing so, a considerable amount of pure power would be lost. However, at that very moment, as Jian Wushuang continued to absorb the pure power, he gradually found a new way to absorb the pure power. Although his new method of absorbing the pure power would take a longer period of time, he would not waste any pure power of the demon spirits and demon cores. Time passed by. In a flash, 1 year had passed. During the 1 year, Jian Wushuang had absorbed many of his demon spirits as well as his grade 1 demon cores completely. With that, the ultimate divine power within his body had increased greatly as well. At that moment, there was a total of 2 ultimate divine power water droplets in his body. This meant that Jian Wushuang's divine power was twice as thick as before. I have finished absorbing all my Grade 1 demon cores. Now it's time for the Grade 2 demon cores. With a flip of his hands, Jian Wushuang took out 2 Grade 2 demon cores. The amount of pure power that a Grade 2 demon core contained was many times more than that of a Grade 1 demon core. Jian Wushuang then began to absorb the pure power from the Grade 2 demon cores. For the 2 Grade 2 demon cores, it would require 6 months' time to absorb them both. After the 2 Grade 2 demon cores were completely absorbed, half a year had passed. With that, the ultimate divine power in Jian Wushuang's body increased again. However, he was still a step away from forming the third ultimate divine power water droplet. Originally, I thought that the second and third ultimate divine power water droplet were the same as the first ultimate divine power water droplet. However, looking at it now, that is not the case. Comparing the level of thickness, the second ultimate divine power water droplet is stronger than the first water droplet. As for the third ultimate divine power water droplet, it is thicker than the second water droplet. Thus, it will require me to absorb more pure power and it will be more difficult for me to form it, Jian Wushuang muttered. However, his eyes were looking at the final demon core on his hands. That demon core was the Grade 3 demon core. The Grade 3 demon core contains even more pure power and I hope that it can help me to form the third ultimate divine power water droplet. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. After that, he started to absorb the pure power from within the Grade 3 demon core. Not only was it more difficult to absorb a Grade 3 demon core compared to a Grade 2 demon core, the time taken was also longer. Jian Wushuang took a total of 1 year and 4 months to complete the absorption of the pure power of the Grade 3 demon core. After the absorption was complete, the third ultimate divine power water droplet was finally formed in his body. There are 3 droplets now. When Jian Wushuang sensed the 3 ultimate divine power water droplets that were in his body, his eyes glowed brilliantly. It has only been a few years since I came to 8th layer and I have already managed to raise my abilities greatly by forming the third ultimate divine power water droplet. If I were to continue relying on the pure power within the demon cores, I would probably be able to form the 10th ultimate divine power water droplet in no time. At that time, I will be able to make a breakthrough to stage 2 ultimate real god. With that, my divine power and body will achieve the level of an almighty. Even though my comprehension of the heaven way is slightly lacking, I will still be able to run wild amidst the real gods with just my divine power and body. Read more chapter on novel full. While thinking about that, Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. To everyone else, although the 8th layer was an opportunity, its effectiveness was limited. However, to Jian Wushuang the 8th layer was a great opportunity. The demon spirits and demon cores within the bodies of the star demons were extremely useful to him. I have finished absorbing the demon cores and demon spirits. Next, I have to continue searching for star demons to obtain new demon cores. Jian Wushuang stood up and left the cave straight away. At the void, as Jian Wushuang searched for the traces of the star demons, he also took out his transmission token to communicate with Hall Master Yuan at the same time. Back then, Hall Master Yuan had looked for Jian Wushuang when he was absorbing the demon cores after having secluded himself in the cave. After knowing that Jian Wushuang had secluded himself in the cave to absorb the power of the demon cores, Hall Master Yuan did not disturb him. It was only after Jian Wushuang had completed his absorption that he contacted him again. Jian Wushuang, I heard that you have killed real God Gu Ying of the Soaring Heaven King Palace while traveling in the inner layer of the 8th layer? Hall Master Yuan's voice was filled with laughter. That's right, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. How impressive. You are able to kill a chaotic real god after such a short period of time. Hall Master Yuan was excited as well. It is because of the fact that he underestimated me that I was able to have my way, Jian Wushuang laughed. Of course his words were modest. Real God Gu Ying did not underestimate him and he used his full power right off the bat. Moreover, he had also teamed up with real God Xueling. However, there was nothing that they could do as the gap between their abilities was too huge. Alright. With the death of real God Gu Ying, the Soaring Heaven King Palace will definitely be infuriated. I wonder if they have created some trouble for the lineage of Star? Jian Wushuang questioned. Of course they did. The Soaring Heaven King Palace even wanted the lineage of Star to hand you over so that they could execute you. Ah, that was really funny. Hall Master Yuan sneered. Oh right. What exactly happened during that battle? Real God Gu Ying and real God Xueling had cast their greedy eyes on my Grade 3 demon core. Thus, they took action straight away to kill me so that they could snatch it away from me. However, as their abilities were not strong enough, they were killed by me. It is just that simple, Jian Wushuang laughed. Even though two chaotic real gods had teamed up, one of them was still killed by you in the end. Hall Master Yuan managed to get a great piece of information from Jian Wushuang's words. After that, he laughed. I knew that you would not provoke the Soaring Heaven King Palace for no reason. As expected. Back then, real god Xueling even said that you were the one who had cast your greedy eyes on real god Gu Ying's treasure. Hence, you took the initiative to launch a surprise attack to kill real god Gu Ying. How shameless they are. Chapter 1659 Real God Peng Hua. 1659 Real God Peng Hua. They are indeed shameless, Jian Wushuang sneered. It was real god Xueling and real god Gu Ying who had cast their greedy eyes on his grade 3 demon core, and they had wanted to kill him for that. However, in the end, the Soaring Heaven King Palace said that he was the one who had cast his eyes on their treasure. Thus, he had launched a surprise attack of his own accord and killed real god Gu Ying as a result. Hall Master Yuan, how do you plan to reply the Soaring Heaven King Palace? Jian Wushuang questioned. I shall reply the correct way. Hall Master Yuan said indifferently. By comparing abilities, the Soaring Heaven King Palace is indeed slightly more powerful than the lineage of Star. However, they are not a lot more powerful than us. Even if we were to fight, the lineage of Star would not be afraid of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Moreover, the Soaring Heaven King Palace is not daring enough to shed all pretenses of cordiality with the lineage of Star completely. However, although the Soaring Heaven King Palace cannot do anything to the lineage of Star, they can still think of ways to deal with you. For example, they can send experts to the 8th layer or get the experts in the 8th layer to kill you. From what I know, there are currently 4 experts of the Soaring Heaven King Palace traveling in the 8th layer. Apart from one of them who is in the outer layer as he is an eternal real god, the 3 remaining people are all chaotic real gods. Moreover, among the 3 chaotic real gods, the person who you have to be careful of is real god Ziyi. That real god Ziyi is an expert who stands at the top of the chaotic real gods and is also extremely near to the real god ranking list. He has also been traveling in the core region of the 8th layer all the while. Hence, if he were to come across you, he would definitely kill you without hesitation. Real god Ziyi? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He had also heard of real god Ziyi before. Jian Wushuang, for this period of time, I will get someone to observe the movements of the Soaring Heaven King Palace's experts. If the Soaring Heaven King Palace sends experts to the 8th layer, I will inform you immediately. Also, please be extra careful in the 8th layer, Hall Master Yuan said. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and cut off the transmission to Hall Master Yuan immediately. After that, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. That real god Ziyi has been traveling in the core region of the 8th layer throughout the years, and it just so happens that I have decided to go to the core region as well. Normally, normal chaotic real gods would travel in the inner layer of the 8th layer. With Jian Wushuang's abilities, he could definitely travel in the core region. By going to the core region, there would be more opportunities for him to obtain demon cores. However, it would naturally be more dangerous as well. I hope that I would be able to meet him at that time. I really wish to see whether real god Ziyi has the ability to make me use my full power, Jian Wushuang laughed. From the time that he made a breakthrough to a real god to the current moment, he had been training to raise his own abilities. Even though he had fought against someone else in the Thunderbolt Island, it was merely a duel. Previously, when he had fought against real god Xueling and real god Gu Ying, as they were merely 2 normal chaotic real gods, they had no right to make him use his full power. In other words, up until that moment he had never used his full power to fight with someone else before. Jian Wushuang headed to the core region. If he were to come across star demons along the way, he would kill them. In less than half a year's time, Jian Wushuang entered the core region of the 8th layer. The core region was the core of the 8th level. It was the place with the most number of star demons and also the place with the most powerful star demons. Just like before, the core region was also in complete darkness and no shard of light could be seen at all. In the void, Jian Wushuang was traveling forward slowly. He had already spread his soul power across the surroundings so that he could pay attention to a large radius from him. His soul power covered a huge range and it would naturally be easier for him to find star demons. This was a great advantage that Jian Wushuang had over the chaotic real gods. By searching like that, Jian Wushuang found traces of star demons in no time. Tens of star demons were gathered together. Moreover, what had caused Jian Wushuang to be elated was that there was a greater proportion of mature star demons among them. For example, in the inner layer and outer layer, it was considered not too bad for there to be one mature star demon among tens of star demons, and the proportion was 1 to 10. However, for the core region, on average, there would be one mature star demon for every 10 star demons. At that very moment, there was a total of 6 mature one-horned star demons among the tens of star demons that Jian Wushuang was facing. Time to kill them. Jian Wushuang's body floated toward the group of star demons immediately. For the next period of time, Jian Wushuang continued to hunt and kill star demons while traveling in the core region. Even with his abilities, he still needed to be careful in the core region. As long as he did not come across places that were extremely concentrated with star demons, it would not be too dangerous. With that, as he hunted star demons, the number of demon cores in his Chen Kuan ring would naturally increase. In a flash, 2 years passed by. Boom. With a fierce booming sound, the black, vast void was completely torn open during the battle. Frightening sword essence was sweeping across the area. While the sword essence was sweeping across the area, a shrill and horrible shriek could be heard. After a long time, the battle came to an end. Jian Wushuang appeared on the ground and he was looking at the body of the star demon in front of him. The star demon had 3 horns on its forehead and it was a grade 3 star demon. However, this grade 3 star demon was different from the grade 3 star demon that Jian Wushuang had killed previously. This grade 3 star demon's body was completely black in color and its skin did not have any parts that were green in color. In terms of abilities, it was also slightly weaker than the previous grade 3 star demon. There are extremely few grade 3 star demons in the inner layer. Back then, my luck was good and I managed to come across one. However, in the core region, as long as I look diligently, I will be able to find them easily. As Jian Wushuang laughed, he waved his hands and kept the grade 3 star demon's demon core into his Chen Kuan ring. However, at that very moment, Jian Wushuang looked toward the void beside him at once. Someone has come. What a coincidence. It was indeed a coincidence. When he had killed the 3-horned star demon previously, he had chanced upon real god Xueling and real god Guing. At that very moment, when he had killed his second grade 3 star demon, he had chanced upon another human cultivator. I hope that the person who comes this time around will not be the same as the 2 people from the Soaring Heaven King Palace, Jian Wushuang muttered. In no time the person appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. It was a chubby old man. He had a stalwart body and he was close to 250 centimeters tall. When he stood in his position he looked like a small mountain. You are real god Peng Hua? Jian Wushuang asked. The person in front of me should be the famous inverse cultivator Jian Wushuang, the chubby old man laughed. His voice was gentle and charming. I am Jian Wushuang. Greetings to real god Peng Hua. Jian Wushuang greeted him with a modest expression. Jian Wushuang knew about real god Peng Hua. He was a member of the Sanctuary Alliance but he was not in any powerhouses. Instead, he was an expert who traveled alone and he was extremely powerful. It was rumored that real god Peng Hua had fought with an expert of the real god ranking list before. Moreover, he was never at a disadvantage during the fight. Although it was unknown whether the rumor was true, there had to be a reason for the rumor to exist. Hence, this indicated how powerful real god Peng Hua was. Chapter 1660 Peng Hua's Invitation. 1660 Peng Hua's Invitation. Real god Peng Hua was a top expert who was suspected to have fighting capabilities equivalent to experts in the real god ranking list. Not only were his abilities strong, his relations with other people and his popularity were also not too bad. Moreover, he also treated other people in a friendly way and was easy to approach. On top of that, he had never taken the initiative to provoke other people. Ever since he had become famous after so many years, there was only news of other people making trouble for him and news of him taking the initiative to make trouble for others was unheard of. Read more chapter on novel full. Moreover, there was one more point and it was real god Peng Hua not having much ambition. He was even unconcerned as to whether he would be able to become an almighty. What he wanted was simply to live freely and comfortably. Take the 8 layers as an example. With his abilities he could absolutely travel in the 7th layer. However, he had always stayed in the 8th layer. As he was an expert with strong abilities and a good reputation, Jian Wushuang respected him. Little friend, are you the one who killed the 3-horned star demon behind you? Real god Peng Hua asked. That's right, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. It was done by you alone? Real god Peng Hua questioned closely. Jian Wushuang nodded his head again. Ha, that's great. Real god Peng Hua laughed loudly and he looked at Jian Wushuang after that. Little friend, I wish for you to help me with a matter. May I know if you are willing to do so? What does real God Peng He want me to do? Jian Wushuang questioned. Please follow me. When we reach the place you will know, real God Peng He said. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and he followed real God Peng He to a faraway void immediately. For real God Peng He, Jian Wushuang only remained vigilant in the deepest part of his mind. Apart from that, he did not need to take too much precaution. After all, real God Peng He had a good reputation. Moreover, even if real God Peng He were to really have other motives, Jian Wushuang would not be afraid. Under real God Peng He's guidance, Jian Wushuang came to a black void after a short while. Little friend, look over there in that direction. Real God Peng He was pointing in a direction. Jian Wushuang spread his soul power at once. After taking a look, his eyes shrank fiercely. Within the detection range of his soul power, he detected the existence of 2-star demons. The 2-star demons were grade 3-star demons and they were together. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had realized that the 2 3-horn star demons within the detection range of his soul power were not the normal black star demons. Instead, they were green star demons. They were 2 3-horn green star demons. Furthermore, a portion of the skin of one of them was blood red in color. It was obvious that 3-horn green star demon had already begun to transform into a crimson star demon. A normal 3-horn green star demon possesses the fighting capabilities of a top chaotic real god. As for the other star demon with a portion of its skin in a blood red color, it is probably stronger than a top chaotic real god and it is extremely close to experts of the real god ranking list. For these 2 kinds of star demons to be together, Jian Wushuang clicked his tongue in admiration. Previously he had killed grade 3-star demons as well. Moreover, he had killed a total of 2 of them. However, the grade 3-star demons that he killed were both normal black star demons which were equivalent to normal chaotic real gods of the human beings and they were completely incomparable to the 2-star demons in front of him. Real God Peng He, could it be that you want me to team up with you to kill those 2-star demons? Jian Wushuang questioned. That's right. That's my plan, real God Peng He laughed. After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang forced a smile at once. Real God Peng He, aren't you thinking too highly of me? For those 2-star demons, I am unable to do anything against either of them. Even if I were to team up with you, wouldn't it still be impossible to kill those 2-star demons? Little friend, you need not worry. I have already fought with those 2-star demons just now and I have a clear understanding of their abilities. If those 2-star demons were to team up, even I would be unable to do anything against them. However, if we were to separate them and deal with them one by one, it would be much easier to handle them. Real God Peng He continued to laugh. Previously, I had been traveling around in this vicinity to find a top chaotic real god who I could team up with, and it just so happened that I saw you. Little friend, I only wish for you to keep the star demon with slightly weaker abilities busy for a period of time so that I can use my full power to deal with the stronger star demon. As long as the stronger star demon is killed, it will naturally be easier to deal with the remaining one. Understood, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. He also knew what real God Peng He wanted and his eyes turned toward the weaker 3-horn green star demon. This 3-horn star demon has not begun to transform into a crimson star demon yet. Hence, its ability should be around a top chaotic real god. With my abilities, it will not be too difficult to keep it busy for a period of time. How about this? When we attack later on, I will keep the weaker 3-horn green star demon busy for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, if you have yet to kill the stronger star demon, I will leave. Haha, no problem. Also, I will not need 15 minutes. Within 1/8 of an hour, I will definitely kill the stronger star demon. Real God Peng He laughed heartily. After that, with a flip of his hands, he took out a black force core. Little friend, I will not let you help me for free. Instead, I will reward you. For the rewards, it will be 2 normal grade 3 demon cores and I will give you one of them first. As for the remaining grade 3 demon core, I will give it to you after this matter is settled. Real God Peng He tossed the black force core in his hands to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang extended his hand to receive it. When he used his soul power to check it, his eyes glowed brilliantly at once. Real God Peng He was really generous. He only needed Jian Wushuang to keep the weaker green star demon busy for a period of time and he would give Jian Wushuang 2 normal grade 3 demon cores as a reward. It should be known that during the many years that Jian Wushuang had been in the 8th layer, he had only obtained a total of 2 grade 3 demon cores. Moreover, he had also used quite a bit of effort to obtain them. However, this time around he would obtain them easily. Let's get started, Real God Peng He said. Alright, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. Their bodies then changed into two rays of flittering light and headed toward the positions of the two-star demons at once. When they were about to get close to the two-star demons, the two three-horned green star demons reacted instantly. Human cultivators. Kill them. A great amount of destructive aura burst forth from the bodies of the two-star demons instantly. The bodies of the two-star demons then changed into green shadows and headed over with lightning speed. Little friend, I will leave the weaker star demon to you. Real God Peng glanced at Jian Wushuang. No problem, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. When his body turned vague, thousands upon thousands of shadows appeared at the same time straight away. The great number of shadows then whizzed past the area and covered the weaker three-horned green star demon completely. Oh, his comprehension of the space-time doctrine is not too bad. Real God Peng looked at Jian Wushuang with surprise. After that, his eyes turned grave. Rumble. A great amount of flames which could cover the sky appeared and changed into a giant sea of fire instantly. The sea of fire which was burning madly then came from all directions and formed a giant flame prison. Chapter 1661 Friendly. Chapter 1661. Friendly. What great power! Jian Wushuang was looking at the flame prison with admiration and he could feel the great amount of power that it contained. At that moment, real God Peng and the slightly stronger three-horned green star demon were both within the flame prison. As for Jian Wushuang, he only needed to keep the star demon in front of him busy. Swish! A green shadow attacked with lightning speed. The void was ripped open and generated ear-piercing explosive sounds. Jian Wushuang also swung the Blood Mountain sword, which was emitting sword essence at once. Clang! With a loud sound, the unreasonable power created an impact and Jian Wushuang could not help but retreat a few steps back. What great power! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. Three-horned green star demons could compete against top chaotic real gods, and that was Jian Wushuang's current level of ability. If I were to come across you alone, I really would want to have a good fight with you. However, it's a pity that I have been invited by someone else to help this time round. Also, my duty is not to kill you. Instead, it is to keep you busy, Jian Wushuang chuckled. His body then turned vague and many shadows appeared again. With that, his shadows started to move around the three-horned green star demon. Jian Wushuang's martial art motion was strange and he had been using both his martial art motion and speed to keep the three-horned green star demon busy. He did not hope to kill the three-horned green star demon in front of him. Instead, he wanted to keep it busy so that it could not do anything else. The three-horned green star demon became furious. Although it unleashed some peculiar moves with the intention to kill Jian Wushuang, all its moves were stopped by Jian Wushuang. As it was neither able to kill Jian Wushuang nor shake him off, it could only be kept busy by Jian Wushuang. This intense battle continued, with both sides refusing to budge. As Jian Wushuang kept the three-horned green star demon busy, he also took note of the time. Previously, he had only promised to keep the three-horned green star demon busy for 15 minutes. If real God Peng had yet to defeat his opponent when the time was up, Jian Wushuang would leave. It's about to be 15 minutes soon, Jian Wushuang murmured. However, as he mentioned the timing, boom. A muffled sound could be heard from the flame prison. At that moment, the whole universe shook slightly. After that, the flame prison dissipated slowly and revealed the void inside it. Within the dark void, the slightly stronger three-horned star demon, which had red skin on a part of its body, had disappeared and only real God Peng remained standing inside. At the same time, his hands were holding a demon core. The demon core was a mix of both green and red colors. Of course, the green color took up more space of the demon core than the red color. It is just as real God Peng has said. He did not even take 15 minutes, Jian Wushuang gasped. At that moment, real God Peng, who was within the void, had already changed into a lump of flames and headed for the battlefield that Jian Wushuang was in. Little friend, please retreat to one side. Real God Peng Hua's voice could be heard in the piece of universe. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. By moving his body, he retreated to a void nearby. After that, he saw that real God Peng Hua had started fighting. With a wave of his big hands, a huge amount of flames appeared and dyed the heavens red. At the center of the universe, a shocking giant flame beast appeared. The flame beast was more than 10,000 feet tall and it was formed from a tremendous amount of divine power. At the moment it was formed, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed the living three-horned green star demon, as well as everything else in that piece of void. Rumble sounds of power exploding could be heard faintly. In a split second, the gigantic flame beast dissipated. As for the three-horned green star demon, it had disappeared completely. It's dead. It was killed in just an instant. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing with an unusual light. Although the three-horned green star demon which he had fought with was incomparable to the one that real god Peng had killed in the flame prison previously, it still possessed the genuine fighting capabilities of a top chaotic real god. However, in the end, when it fought with real god Peng, it was killed straight away without even having a chance to struggle. There has been doubts about real god Peng possessing fighting capabilities that can be compared to the experts in the real god ranking list. However, from what I can see, such doubts can be dispelled as he indeed possesses fighting capabilities that can get him into the ranking god ranking list, Jian Wushuang murmured. Real god Peng, who was standing in the void, waved his hands and a green core floated over slowly from the flames. Green core. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted slightly. The grade 3 demon cores were split into 3 different colors. Among the grade 3 demon cores that Jian Wushuang had obtained, all of them were the normal black cores. As for green cores, they were worth many times more than black cores. A grade 3 green demon core could be compared to about 6 or 7 normal grade 3 black demon cores. As such, real god Peng was very generous and he rewarded Jian Wushuang with 2 grade 3 black demon cores. Haha. Real god Peng laughed heartily and walked toward Jian Wushuang. Little kid, thank you for helping me this time round. This is the remaining grade 3 demon core. Real god Peng gave Jian Wushuang a demon core. After receiving the demon core, Jian Wushuang laughed. Actually, I did not really help much. What he had said was true. The 2 grade 3 green star demons were killed due to real god Peng absolute abilities. As for Jian Wushuang, his task was extremely easy. Little friend, you are too modest. If you were not there, I would have been unable to kill the 2 star demons. Real god Peng was still laughing. In short, thank you very much for helping me in this matter. This is my transmission token. If you come across any trouble in the future, you can contact me. If I am able to help, I will definitely do my best to help you. Jian Wushuang took the transmission token subconsciously. I shall take my leave now. Real god Peng laughed and left after that. Only Jian Wushuang remained standing at his position and he had an extremely puzzled expression. However, after a short while he became relaxed. When real god Peng invited me to help him, it was indeed for the 2 grade 3 green star demons initially. However, for such an easy job, it was more than enough for him to give me a grade 3 black demon core. However, he gave me 2 of them and even gave me his transmission token. On top of that, he also said that I could find him if I were to come across any trouble in the future. He is being friendly toward me, Jian Wushuang laughed. Jian Wushuang had lived for tens of thousands of years. Hence, he knew the ways of the world. For example, real god Peng actions were obviously him being friendly to Jian Wushuang as he wanted to make friends with Jian Wushuang. After all, anyone would be willing to make friends with a genius like Jian Wushuang who had great potential. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was also a person who valued friendships highly. Back then in the Burning Demon region, Jian Wushuang had clashed with the 4-symbol mansion head-on for his good friend Duan Lingfeng. Since he was such a person, it was worth it to make friends with him. Chapter 1662 Targeted. Chapter 1662, Targeted. It is my pleasure to be able to make friends with an expert like you, real god Peng. As Jian Wushuang laughed, he put real god Peng's transmission token into his Qiankuan ring. After that, he moved his body and continued to hunt for star demons in his vicinity. Time passed by. In a flash, another 20 years had passed. Inside a cave that had been opened as a temporary place in the core region, Jian Wushuang was sitting down with his legs crossed and demon cores were floating in front of him. At the same time, a great amount of pure power was flowing into his body continuously. As Jian Wushuang absorbed the pure power from the demon cores, the ultimate divine power within his body continued to increase and another ultimate divine power water droplet was formed. I have 5 droplets of ultimate divine power now. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes fiercely and his eyes were glowing brilliantly. For the past few years, he had been traveling in the core region and he had also managed to kill many star demons. As such, he had naturally obtained a great number of demon cores. As for the pure power within the demon cores that he had obtained, it had all been absorbed by him over the past few years when he had secluded himself in the cave. Thus, the number of ultimate divine power water droplets in his body had increased from 3 water droplets to 5 water droplets. The 2 additional droplets of ultimate divine power could not be treated lightly. Jian Wushuang was certain that if he were to rely on his own abilities to train and accumulate the 2 additional droplets of ultimate divine power, he would need tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years to form them. However, in the core region of the 8th layer, he had only used 20 years' time. To any random real god, 20 years of time was just a very short period of time. If he were to hurry to his intended location or go to a random place, he would easily use more than 20 years of time. However, in such a short 20 years of time, Jian Wushuang's abilities had risen greatly. 5 droplets of ultimate divine power? He was getting closer and closer to making a breakthrough to stage 2 ultimate real god. Jian Wushuang was in a state of happiness. However, at that very moment, a message was sent to him abruptly. Little friend Jian Wushuang, are you still traveling in the core region? The person who sent the message over was real god Peng. Yes, I'm still there. Does real god Peng have something for me? Jian Wushuang replied with a laugh. I do not have anything for you and I'm just asking randomly. Also, let me ask you another question. Is there a grudge between you and the Soaring Heaven King Palace? Real god Peng said. The Soaring Heaven King Palace? Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. Yes, there's a grudge between us. What's wrong? No wonder, real god Peng laughed. Little friend, let me tell you the truth. Just a moment ago, an expert of the Soaring Heaven King Palace contacted me and asked me if I have seen you in the 8th layer. Oh. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. How did you answer him? Of course I said that I have not seen you. Moreover, the expert from the Soaring Heaven King Palace also told me to inform him if I were to see you in the future. In addition, he told me not to bring this matter up in front of anyone else. At that time, I felt that something was wrong and hence, I agreed to his request on the surface. After that, I contacted you straight away to ask you about it. As expected, there is indeed a grudge between you and the Soaring Heaven King Palace, real god Peng said. Seems like the Soaring Heaven King Palace has their eyes on me? Jian Wushuang's expression turned icy cold. Little friend, although I have never had any dealings with the Soaring Heaven King Palace before, I know something about them. Their ways of doing things have always been unreasonable. If anyone in the 10 sanctuaries were to provoke them, they would definitely get the other party to pay a heavy price for it. Now, since the Soaring Heaven King Palace has their eyes on you, nothing good will come of it, real god Peng said. I know. Thank you very much for telling me about this matter. If not, the lineage of Star who is supporting me would still be clueless about this, Jian Wushuang said thankfully. He knew that although the Soaring Heaven King Palace was searching for him, their method of searching was very secretive. They probably did not want to alert him and it was to the extent that even the lineage of Star did not know about it. If not for Jian Wushuang making friends with real god Peng by coincidence, he would still be clueless at that very moment. Little friend is too modest. The only thing is that this is not a small matter and you had better deal with it carefully, real god Chihua said. Alright, Jian Wushuang nodded his head seriously. How about this? Real god Peng, I will talk to Hall Master Yuan first and I will look for you again later. Alright, real god Peng said sincerely. Jian Shuang took out Hall Master Yuan's transmission token at once. Hall Master Yuan, do you know if the Soaring Heaven King Palace has sent experts to the 8th layer during this period of time? Jian Wushuang questioned. They did not send anyone, Hall Master Yuan said confidently. I have already gotten people to observe the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Therefore, I can confirm that the Soaring Heaven King Palace has not sent any experts to the 8th layer during this period of time. Not even eternal real gods were sent. What about exceptionally strong experts coming to the 8th layer during this period of time? Jian Wushuang continued to ask. Thinking about it, if the Soaring Heaven King Palace really wanted to kill him, they could hire other experts to take care of him. Moreover, the experts who they had hired would be experts who traveled alone. The 8th layer is ranked the last among the 8 layers. Hence, among the experts who travel there are not many exceptionally strong ones to begin with. Real god Peng Hu's way of doing things is strange and he can be considered a special case. Apart from that, no unreasonably strong chaotic real gods will go to the 8th layer. Over the past few years, there are only 3 chaotic real gods who have gone into the 8th layer. Moreover, their abilities are normal and none of them is a top chaotic real god, Hall Master Yuan said. There isn't anyone? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Jian Wushuang, why are you asking about this so suddenly? Hall Master Yuan asked. You will know after a short period of time. Jian Wushuang kept Hall Master Yuan in suspense. Hall Master Yuan did not ask too much either. Inside the cave, Jian Wushuang was muttering to himself, since the Soaring Heaven King Palace is searching for me, they naturally want to take care of me. However, since they did not send any experts to the 8th layer, this means that they only want to rely on their own experts who are in the 8th layer to kill me. The thought that the Soaring Heaven King Palace would get some of their experts who were traveling in the 8th layer to kill him had also crossed his mind before. However, there were not many experts traveling in the 8th layer to begin with. Next, the 8th layer was so huge. Hence, it would not be easy to come across a human cultivator even on ordinary days. Even if they were to come across a human cultivator, it would be difficult to find one who possessed sufficient abilities and was also willing to take action for the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Thus, the possibility of the Soaring Heaven King Palace hiring experts who were traveling in the 8th layer was very low. As such, they could only get their own experts who were already traveling in the 8th layer to take action. There is a total of 4 experts from the Soaring Heaven King Palace traveling in the 8th layer. Among them, there is an eternal real god, 2 normal chaotic real gods as well as a top chaotic real god. The eternal real god and the 2 normal chaotic real gods will not pose a threat to me. Therefore, it is only possible for real god Ziyi, the top chaotic real god, to kill me. While thinking about that, Jian Wushuang grinned. After that, he took out real god Peng Hua's transmission token again. Real god Peng Hua, I have a matter that I would like your help with. Chapter 1663 Ziye's Arrival. Chapter 1663, Ziye's Arrival. The black universe was filled with nothingness. The chubby old man real god Peng Hua, who was like a small mountain, was standing on a mountain and he was waiting quietly. After a short while, a shadow appeared in his line of vision. The approaching person wore purple armor and battle boots. In addition, his head also wore a battle helmet. He also looked handsome and he looked just a purple war god. Real god Peng Hua, real god Ziye's face revealed a modest expression. Although he was a top chaotic real god, he was still inferior to real god Peng Hua. Ziyi, why is the Soaring Heaven King Palace looking for Jian Wushuang? Real god Peng Hua asked. We naturally have something for him. However, it's not convenient for me to tell you the details, real god Ziyi laughed. Real god Peng Hua raised his eyebrows and said disapprovingly, forget it if you do not wish to tell me. I saw Jian Wushuang previously. He is in that direction. Real god Peng Hua pointed in a direction, continue going straight from there. He's nearby a piece of void that is millions of miles away. However, that is where I saw him 10 days ago. As for whether he is still in that region, I have no idea. Thank you very much, real god Peng Hua. After thanking him, real god Ziyi hurried in that direction straight away. Real god Peng Hua was still standing on the mountain and he looked on as real god Ziyi left. It was only after real god Ziyi had moved far away that his face revealed a strange smile. After that, he took out a transmission token. My little friend Jian Wushuang, real god Ziyi has come. Moreover, he's alone. Real god Peng Hua, thank you very much and I'm sorry for troubling you. Jian Wushuang's voice could be heard from the token. Real god Peng Hua chuckled and put his token into his Chen Kuan ring. The Soaring Heaven King Palace wishes to take care of Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang also seems to want to take action against the Soaring Heaven King Palace. I really have no idea who is plotting against who. Real god Peng Hua revealed a thoughtful expression. However, I do not need to care about the crazy fights between the two sides as it does not concern me. It will be alright as long as I do not offend either side. Everyone knew that real god Peng Hua had an extremely good reputation all around and he had never provoked someone else of his own accord. Instead, it had always been other people who went looking for him. However, in actual fact, this was related to his character. He had no ambitions and only wished to be free and unfettered. In addition, he was not concerned with the fights between the powerhouses of the eternal chaotic world. In spite of that, his relations with other people were good. To put it in good terms, he was a smooth person who had a good sense of propriety. However, to put it in bad terms, he was a genuine old fox. Moreover, such an old fox had been able to live for a long time. Millions of miles away, Jian Wushuang was sitting down on the dark land and waiting quietly. At that moment he was smiling. As expected. The Soaring Heaven King Palace only sent real god Ziyi alone as they thought that it would be sufficient to kill me. That's right. After all, real god Ziyi is a top chaotic real god and he is very close to the real god ranking list. Even if he were to come across other top chaotic real gods like real god Longqing, he would be able to kill them. Moreover, the abilities that I unleashed back then in the inner layer to kill real god Guing were not stronger than real god Longqing's. As Jian Wushuang laughed, he stood up slowly. Let me go and welcome real God Ziyi. Jian Wushuang moved his feet and he walked forward slowly. Atop the dark void, real God Ziyi, who wore a purple armor and also had a commanding presence, was traveling in accordance to real God Peng Hua's directions. After a short while, he noticed a shadow which appeared in the range of his own consciousness detection. I have found him. Real God Ziyi's eyes were like an eagle's and he looked toward the front. Atop the dark and barren land, the shadow of a blood-robed young man who was carrying a long sword on his back was moving forward slowly. Although he was taking small steps, every step was filled with strength. Hence, any random step of his would easily cover a distance of hundreds of miles. It was only when the shadow of the young man was less than 10,000 miles away from real God Ziyi that he stopped moving. A cold wind flew by and blew up his blood robe as well as his hair. At the next moment, the shadow of the young man raised his head and revealed a resolute and young face. The face contained a pair of penetrating eyes which were like a pair of gems, and the shrill light that they were emitting illuminated the dark void. Jian Wushuang, you're really here. Real God Ziyi's voice shook the heavens. After that, his body changed into purple lightning and descended in front of Jian Wushuang. In addition, the ground that he stepped on with his battle boots was smashed into pieces. Jian Wushuang was looking at real God Ziyi, who was in front of him. Although he had already prepared himself a long time ago, he was expressionless on the surface. He then said, So it's real God Ziyi of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Do you have anything for me? Ah. Jian Wushuang, are you really that stupid or are you simply acting dumb? Real God Ziyi was extremely arrogant. From the looks of it, you are here to take revenge for real God Guing, right? Jian Wushuang giggled. Of course. Not just anyone can kill the Soaring Heaven King Palace's people, real God Ziyi said with a low voice. Back then, real God Guing and real God Xueling had cast their greedy eyes on my grade 3 demon core and they attacked me. As such, I took action and killed him to protect myself. Shouldn't I have done that? Could it be that I should have let him kill me so that he could snatch my treasure away? The Soaring Heaven King Palace's people are too unreasonable, Jian Wushuang shouted while pretending to have a furious look. Since you also know that the Soaring Heaven King Palace is unreasonable, why are you still asking me questions? No matter what reason it is, as long as you kill the Soaring Heaven King Palace's people, you must die. Real God Ziyi was filled with overwhelming murderous intent. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and he laughed sardonically. He then opened up his right hand, which had been closed tightly all the while, and revealed a token. That's a mirroring token? Real God Ziyi's expression changed slightly and he looked at Jian Wushuang. You did that on purpose. You only caught on now? Jian Wushuang sneered and kept the mirroring token which had finished recording into his Chen Kuan ring. I am done with the mirroring token. Now it's time for me to make my move. Humph, no matter what you do, you have to die today. Real God Ziyi was filled with murderous intent. With a flip of his palm, a purple saber appeared in his hands. Buzz. Real God Ziyi made his move straight away. Within the vast black void, 4 additional purple moons appeared out of thin air. The 4 purple moons were extremely dazzling and they illuminated the dark void with purple light. As for Jian Wushuang, he could tell clearly that the 4 purple moons were 4 bright rays of saber light. Swish, 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 swish. The 4 purple moons swept past the area and left 4 purple shadows behind on the void. Space and time seemed to have been affected greatly. Swoosh. All of a sudden, the void behind Jian Wushuang tore open and a purple moon appeared. Moreover, the purple moon was aimed at his head. Chapter 1664 Close Combat. Chapter 1664 Close Combat. Including the purple moon that suddenly flew out from the back, there were a total of 5 moons attacking Jian Wushuang simultaneously and they were traveling at an unbelievable speed. That's creepy, Jian Wushuang moved and their myriads of shadows were cast. His real body plunged through the void quickly and fled through the gap between the 5 purple moons. Wow, 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 wow. 5 resplendent purple blade lights hit the void and slashed 5 huge cracks in the void. Then they dispersed. The very next moment, next to real God Ziyi's body, another 5 purple moons merged while there was purple electricity flowing in real God Ziyi's eyes. Then he suddenly plunged. Swoosh. Real God Ziyi's real body turned into a purple sword light and appeared before Jian Wushuang's real body along with his surrounding 5 purple moons. He instantly determined where my real body is. He lives up to his reputation as the top chaotic real god, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in surprise. Blood Mountain sword in his hand immediately let out a soaring sword intention to kill. Hong. There was divine power soaring in Jian Wushuang body and it clashed against real god Ziyi. The blade light and sword intention crisscrossed one another ferociously. Real god Ziyi's blade skill and Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship were given full play and their speed was at their maximum too. Dang, 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 dang. There was a clashing noise. After a short while, the two of them had at least collided 100 times. But it was obvious that Jian Wushuang had the lower hand during the fight. Bang. There was a low thud and Jian Wushuang rolled out gracelessly. He rolled continuously for a few hundred miles until he stopped. After regaining stability, there was blood at the corner of Jian Wushuang's lips. As for real god Ziyi, he was in good condition and the aura on his body was growing stronger. Humph, how dare you fight close combat with me? You're really stupid. Real god Ziyi looked at Jian Wushuang in disdain as he spoke with a voice that shook the earth. Real god Ziyi was best at close combat. His close combat ability was shockingly strong. In collaboration with his blade skill, he was even scarier. Compared to close body combat, as long as he didn't run into an expert from real god ranking list, he wasn't afraid. He heard what real god Ziyi said and Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes but wasn't angry at all. On the contrary, he was excited. Real god Ziyi, you really didn't disappoint me. Jian Wushuang looked at real god Ziyi with a faint smile. As he spoke, there was a boundless ancient god power that instantly exploded. Vroom vroom. His divine power billowed and Jian Wushuang's body suddenly magnified and turned into a 10 zhang tall dark gold ancient god. In his eyes there was also a dark gold luster. In between his eyebrows, there were 6 stars hanging upside down. The invincible might was illustrious. Ever since I broke through and became a real god, this is the first time I go all out. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the boundless power in his palms. Real god Ziyi, you were saying earlier that your close combat ability is very strong, right? Huh. Real god Ziyi creased his eyebrows and he had a bad feeling in the bottom of his heart. Hee, close combat ability? Jian Wushuang sneered as his huge ancient god body immediately started changing. Virum. Huge heads and muscular arms that were substantiated with divine power extended from his body. Suddenly Jian Wushuang had 4 heads and 8 arms. His 8 muscular arms were each holding a sword. Hence there was a total of 8 swords just like a demon. Humph, trying to be deliberately mystifying, real god Ziyi wasn't bothered. In Eternal Chaotic World, there were many secret skills that enable one to grow more arms and heads. So what if there were extra? It would at most increase one's fighting power by a slight bit. To many top experts, 4 and 8 arms were the same. However, he didn't know that Jian Wushuang was actually performing a supreme unique skill of ancient god tribe. The unique skill wasn't as simple as growing extra arms and heads. The most crucial part was that it contained an attack skill. Kill? Real god Ziyi let out a low bellow and his body turned into purple light before he pounded Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang gripped the 8 swords in his hands tightly as the eyes on his 4 heads shimmered with dark gold luster. Kill? Similarly, Jian Wushuang charged forward with his huge ancient god body after letting out a roar. The huge feet stepped onto the ground. With every step he took, there would be a huge hole created in the ground. Their distance pulled closer very quickly. The distance of a few hundred miles was instantly leaped. The 2 not proportionate bodies collided. Die. Real god Ziyi had soaring murderous intention. The 5 purple moons around him were giving our resplendent brilliance, along with the purple saber in his hand that was shimmering with a cold gleam. They instantly formed 6 blade lights and swung out in madness. You will die. Jian Wushuang's 4 heads roared simultaneously and the 8 divine swords in his hands formed 8 flowing lights in collaboration with the unique attack method as they flew out. Close combat. Close combat in complete madness. Both of them gave their all. Clang, 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 bang, pust. There were continuous clashing noises that rang. With such collisions there were glints of sparks and fire. Swoosh. Jian Wushuang and real god Ziyi's bodies crisscrossed. Jian Wushuang continued to hold his 8 swords while his 8 eyes were filled with murderous intention. He steadied himself and turned around to look at real god Ziyi. Real god Ziyi then looked extremely shocked. His eyes were staring wide opened as they covered in disbelief. The next moment, poof. A mouthful of fresh blood was spat from real God Ziye's mouth and his face instantly turned pale. How could this be? Real God Ziye muttered. He knew clearly what had happened earlier. Just as a splint of spark and fire exploded, he fought Jian Wushuang closely and exchanged blows like lightning. Their speed and combat skills were given full play. But in the end, in such a short period of time, Jian Wushuang hit him 6 times. In other words, he was slashed by 6 strokes while Jian Wushuang blocked his blade attack entirely. He was defeated. His close combat ability that he had always been proud of had failed and he was defeated. He was completely cornered. If he wasn't wearing a high-level armor and if didn't cultivate his secret skill of defense to a high level, he would have been dead after the 6 strokes. Chapter 1665, Completely Shedding All Pretense of Cordiality. Chapter 1665, Completely Shedding All Pretense of Cordiality. Real God Ziyi, your close-quarters combat abilities are nothing much more than this. Jian Wushuang's voice, which was filled with ridicule, could be heard. Comment. Although real God Ziyi had a ghastly pale expression, he still stared at Jian Wushuang persistently. However, all of a sudden, his expression changed fiercely. This look, an ancient god. The ancient god clan which has been recognized as the #1 in close-quarters battles in the eternal chaotic world. Real God Ziyi finally knew why he had lost so miserably in a close-quarters battle. It was because of the fact that his opponent was actually an ancient god. Damn it. When Palace Master gave me the task to kill him, not only did he not say that Jian Wushuang possessed the ancient god bloodline, he also did not say that Jian Wushuang would be so powerful. Real God Ziyi had a gloomy expression. His close-quarters combat abilities are many times stronger than mine. Moreover, during the clash just now, I was seriously injured and my abilities are affected as a result. If I were to continue fighting with him, it would not be me killing him. Instead, it would be him killing me. Without hesitation, Real God Ziyi made the correct choice right away. Run. Real God Ziye's body could be seen changing into a ray of purple arc light and flying into the void far away. Haha, why are you in such a rush to leave? Jian Wushuang laughed jokingly. As he looked at the direction that Real God Ziyi was escaping in, he stretched out one of his palms slowly and stuck out a finger. Secret skill. Thunder attracting skill. Buzz. A vast amount of divine power burst forth. All of a sudden the dark universe shook. After that, the dark sky on top of Real God Ziyi was ripped open. A ray of crimson light appeared from the void which had been ripped open, and it descended abruptly. Rumble. It was a crimson-colored life-destroying sacred thunder and its thunderbolts were as thick as a water bucket. Moreover, it also had frightening power which could destroy the universe. After the life-destroying sacred thunder descended from the rift, it headed for Real God Ziyi right away. Its speed was extremely fast. Moreover, it was obvious that the life-destroying sacred thunder had already locked onto Real God Ziyi. As such, it was impossible for Real God Ziyi to dodge the attack. This power. Real God Ziyi opened his eyes wide. In addition, he was filled with fear as he had seen the danger of death from the life-destroying sacred thunder. Real God Ziyi did not dare to be careless. His body stopped moving and the purple saber in his hands released purple rays of light that were extremely bright. Rustle, the saber light changed into a river and created a giant purple saber shadow on the void instantly. The purple saber light then headed toward the life-destroying sacred thunder fiercely. The two attacks clashed head-on. Bam! With a loud sound, a giant hole opened up on the void and a huge number of space rifts also spread crazily due to the attacks. At the center of the big hole, swoosh. A shooting star, or rather a meteorite, fell toward the ground. The meteorite was still covered with part of the crimson-colored thunderbolt power. When it landed on the ground was smashed into pieces and 10,000 miles of the ground was also charred black by the thunderbolt power. As for Real God Ziyi, he also fell into the ruins created from the attacks and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The thunder-attracting skill of the ancient god clan's 3 secret skills is indeed very powerful. As Jian Wushuang looked at what the crimson thunderbolt had done, his face revealed an apathetic smile. Although the thunder-attracting skill was considered the weakest among the ancient god clan's 3 secret skills, it was still very powerful, to the point that it was shocking. Thunder-attracting skill. What it attracted was the life-destroying sacred thunder. At that moment, when Jian Wushuang used his full power, he could only attract one life-destroying sacred thunder. However, it was already enough to kill a normal chaotic real god easily. It should be known that when this secret skill was honed to its highest level, it would be able to attract thousands upon thousands of life-destroying sacred thunder at the same time. At that time, how would the scene look? When King Luozhen was at his peak, he was able to attract thousands upon thousands of life-destroying sacred thunder at the same time. Hence, if he were to unleash the secret skill thunder-attracting skill with his full power, even almighties at the level of the Star Palace Master would be extremely terrified. At that moment, swoosh! A purple, glittering light rose from the ruins abruptly and it ran away crazily. He's actually not dead yet? Jian Wushuang frowned. As he looked at real God Ziyi who was still escaping, he also realized that real God Ziyi's body was covered with thick blood qi. The Soaring Heaven Blood Law is the Soaring Heaven King Palace's secret skill to save one's life. Since real God Ziyi has unleashed this kind of secret skill, it seems like he is really going all out. Jian Wushuang raised the corners of his mouth and revealed an icy cold smile. Even if you go all out, you will still be unable to escape. Buzz. The divine power in Jian Wushuang's body started to burn. Although the speed of burning was not considered too fast, it would still deplete a great amount of divine power. As for Jian Wushuang, by burning his divine power, he unleashed a speed that was 10 times faster than normal and chased after real God Ziyi. He did not plan to let real God Ziyi go just like that. Originally, I had no grudges against the Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, they have found trouble for me again and again. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with a great amount of murderous intent. Previously, in Thunderbolt Island, the monster king of the Soaring Heaven King Palace had given him trouble. After that, in the inner layer of the 8th layer, real God Guing and real God Xueling had teamed up with the intent to kill him and snatch his grade 3 demon core away. Originally, those were selfish motives of the Monster King, real God Guing and real God Xueling. Therefore, they were unable to represent the whole Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, at that moment, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had sent real God Ziyi intentionally to kill him. With that, the grudge was created. Jian Wushuang had always been someone who had minded his own business and would not do anything unless someone found trouble for him. Thus, if someone were to find trouble for him, he would pay them back 10 times or even 100 times more. It was not his style to be attacked by others continuously and not return the favor. Since real God Ziyi had found his way to Jian Wushuang at that moment, Jian Wushuang would have the courage to keep real God Ziyi with him forever. Ziyi, it's impossible for you to escape. Jian Wushuang was filled with an enormous amount of murderous intent. When real God Ziyi, who was already seriously injured and in an extremely tragic state, saw Jian Wushuang chasing him, his expression changed greatly and he shouted furiously, "Jian Wushuang, even though I am already seriously injured, you still refuse to stop. Could it be that you really want to shred all pretenses of cordiality with the Soaring Heaven King Palace completely? Shred all pretenses of cordiality? Humph, when the Soaring Heaven King Palace sent you to kill me, all pretenses of cordiality between us were already shed as things did not take a turn for the better. At this point, you still have the nerve to use the Soaring Heaven King Palace to stop me? This is really funny," Jian Wushuang sneered. With the secret skill of Dragon Blood activated, he could totally catch up with real God Ziyi's speed. Damn it! Real God Ziyi swore. As he escaped madly, he also took out a token hastily. Palace Master, please save me quickly. Jian Wushuang is chasing after me with an intent to kill me. I am already seriously injured and I am unable to unleash my speed completely. Even though I have also used the Soaring Heaven Blood Law, I am still unable to escape from him. Inform the lineage of Star quickly and get them to order Jian Wushuang to stop. Please do it quickly. Real God Ziyi's voice was extremely sad and shrill. Chapter 1666, The Dark Region. Chapter 1666, The Dark Region. Soaring Heaven King Palace. In a lofty palace, many higher-ups of Soaring Heaven King Palace had gathered. Previously, the higher-ups were already informed that real God Ziyi found Jian Wushuang. They were all waiting for the news from real God Ziyi that he killed Jian Wushuang. They had absolute confidence in real God Ziyi. After all, real God Ziyi was the top chaotic real god and he wasn't far from the real god ranking list. On the other hand, although Jian Wushuang had killed real god Guing previously and proved that he wasn't weak, he was a void real god who just broke through after all. Even if he was an inverse cultivator, even if he was unusual, he would only have the fighting power of a top chaotic real god at most. They believed that with real God Ziyi's power, he could definitely kill Jian Wushuang. The worst-case scenario would be Jian Wushuang fleeing. The higher-ups in Soaring Heaven King Palace thought so. Just then, a man in a gold robe at the top of the palace looked surprised and a smile spread across his face. Ziyi sent a message back. It seems that he has killed Jian Wushuang. Real God Ziyi is taking care of this personally. Of course, success is ensured. Humph, Jian Wushuang is a genius. It's a pity that he was too arrogant. He even dared to kill our people from Soaring Heaven King Palace. He deserved to die. Most of the real gods were chatting casually in the palace. The man in a gold robe skimmed through the message that real God Ziyi had sent. The smile on his face stiffened and he suddenly stood on his feet. Real God Ziyi is being hunted by Jian Wushuang, the man in a gold robe bellowed. What? The real gods in the hall were dumbfounded. Palace Master, are you mistaken? It should be real God Ziyi chasing after Jian Wushuang, right? One of the chaotic real god couldn't help but ask. Who would make a mistake? The blond man's hair blew like a raging lion. He roared, hurry up and tell Lineage of Star to send a message to Jian Wushuang. Tell him to stop immediately. Otherwise, if real God Ziyi were to die, no matter where he runs to, Soaring Heaving King Palace will kill him. Yes, someone answered immediately. Real gods in the hall stared with their eyes wide open. They knew that they didn't hear wrongly, but it was a fact. Real God Ziyi was being chased after by Jian Wushuang. The news spread across Sanctuary Alliance in an instant, like a storm. Of course, the news was sent to Hall Master Yuan in Lineage of Star at the first instant. Hall Master Yuan found it unbelievable as well. Real God Ziyi? He is the top chaotic real god and he is being chased after by Jian Wushuang? Did I hear this correctly? Full of doubt, Hall Master Yuan immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang to ask about the incident. Very soon he received an answer. Real God Ziyi was really being chased after. Jian Wushuang, what are you going to do with real God Ziyi? Hall Master Yuan asked. He must die. Jian Wushuang's replied in short. If so, kill him. You don't need to worry about Soaring Heaven King Palace. Hall Master Yuan gave Jian Wushuang a boost of confidence. Then Hall Master Yuan replied to Soaring Heaven King Palace with a short message. I'm sorry, I already texted Jian Wushuang but he didn't reply. Soaring Heaven King Palace suddenly raged in anger. The 8th lair in the core region, Jian Wushuang was still chasing after real God Ziyi. Humph, Soaring Heaven King Palace's Soaring Heaven blood law used up a lot of divine power and you were severely injured. I'd like to see how long can you run away for? Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold and he was also calculating his divine power in secret. He had spent quite a bit of divine power in the fight earlier and as he was chasing after real God Ziyi by performing the secret skill of dragon blood. Luckily, he had already accumulated 5 drops of ultimate divine power water droplet. Hence, his divine power was sufficient. Until then he only used 2 drops and he still had enough divine power. However, for real God Ziyi, Jian Wushuang was certain that his divine power was less than 20%. Read more chapter on novel full. Damn it. Jian Wushuang should have received a message from Lineage of Star, but why isn't he stopping? Real God Ziyi's face was pale and he was terrified. He could feel that the divine power in his body was growing lesser. Originally there was 20%. Then there was only 10% left. Jian Wushuang, don't force me. Real God Ziyi turned around and let out a shrill scream. Force you? Hehe, you're already at this stage but you're so naive? Jian Wushuang scoffed. Alright then. As you want me dead, I won't let you live well either. There was madness in real God Ziyi's eyes. The next moment he suddenly switched to another direction and plunged towards the other void. Real God Ziyi, he is already in such a state, what is he trying to do? Jian Wushuang was confused. After a while, Jian Wushuang realized real God Ziyi's real intention. This is the dark region? Jian Wushuang's face changed and he looked into the void before him. The void was filled with darkness but not a slight bit of light. In the air there was obviously denser black fog compared to other places. It was at least double the amount. The dark region, it was a unique region in the 8th lair. Very long ago there was a war between Sanctuary Alliance and Star Demon Tribe and they came to the lair of Star Demon Tribe. In other words, they came to the 8th lair and foolishly attempted to exterminate all Star Demon entirely. However, in the 8th lair there were some unique regions. In these regions, every and almighty would be restrained. They couldn't explore, nor could they kill the star demons within. Hence, the unique regions formed into dark regions. The dark region not only was the place where the most star demons gathered, but there were also other dangers in the dark region. In short, it was very dangerous. With Jian Wushuang's power to wander in the 8th layer, his life wouldn't be threatened under normal circumstances. However, if he were to barge into the dark region, there were definitely many things that could kill him. Then, real God Ziyi ran to the border of the dark region and plunged into the dark region. You thought I wouldn't come after you if you were to run into the dark region? Such a joke. There was murderous intention flashing in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Although he knew the void before him was a dark region, he continued to chase after him without hesitation. In the dark region, Jian Wushuang continued to chase after real God Ziyi. They continued the chasing game and ran quite a distance. Very soon, real God Ziyi's last 10% of his divine power ran out too. Without divine power, he couldn't perform his secret skill anymore. Swoosh! Real God Ziyi's body stopped into the black fog. He turned around to look at Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1667, Die Together. Chapter 1667, Die Together. Jian Wushuang, I really admire you as you actually dare to chase me into the dark region. Real God Ziyi's eyes were crimson in color and he was staring at Jian Wushuang. Since you dare to come here, why wouldn't I dare to do it as well? Jian Wushuang laughed indifferently. He had already turned back to his human form and his additional 3 heads as well as 6 arms had disappeared. I am different from you. I have already lived for many years. Moreover, I have also stayed as a chaotic real god for millions of years. As such, I have lived enough. But what about you? You are a super genius recognized by the eternal chaotic world as well as an inverse cultivator. Furthermore, it took you quite a bit of effort to finally become what you are now. Therefore, your life is worth more than mine. Real God Ziyi's laughter was filled with madness. To be able to drag a top genius like you to death with me, this means that God is still being generous to me. Drag me to death? Real God Ziyi, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Although the dark region is dangerous and it is said that every step is perilous, I am still not very deep in yet. Hence, if I were to go back the way I came from after killing you, I would be able to get out quickly. Since Jian Wushuang dared to charge into the dark region, he naturally had absolute confidence. After all, he was not in the deepest part of the dark region. Thus, he still had a chance to make the situation improve for the better. Ah, you are right. In this situation, it will still not be enough to drag a super genius like you to death with me. However, how about this? All of a sudden, real God Ziyi laughed strangely. Straight away after that, a violent aura burst forth from his body. Jian Wushuang's expression changed fiercely. Self-detonation? Haha, Jian Wushuang, don't you want to kill me? Since that's the case, let the both of us die together. Real God Ziyi's voice was filled with insanity. His body also expanded crazily and the whole universe entered a state of madness. Retreat. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang retreated hastily. Let's die. Real God Ziyi gave a shrill cry and his expanded body exploded fiercely. Rumbled frightening power swept in all directions, and in the blink of an eye, the whole universe was caught in a storm. Jian Wushuang was naturally affected by the power wave. However, as real God Ziyi had used up his divine power and his body was also seriously injured, the power from his self-detonation was not very strong. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was also far away from him and he blocked the power from the explosion easily. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang's body moved quickly and appeared at the center of the storm. With a wave of his hands, he took the treasures of real God Ziyi as well as his Chen Kuan ring. After doing that, Jian Wushuang's expression became unusually grave. I'm in huge trouble. Jian Wushuang murmured. Real God Ziyi's explosion had indeed not injured him. However, the commotion caused by the self-detonation was extremely shocking. Moreover, he was in the dark region, which was a place where the concentration of star demons was the highest. Even though Jian Wushuang did not see any star demons while chasing after real God Ziyi in the dark region, after real God Ziyi self-detonated himself, Jian Wushuang saw the dark land below him cracking. Crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the dark land continuously and within the cracks, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Black, ghost-like shadows came out of the ground and there were so many of them that they were uncountable. Star demons, so many star demons. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. These star demons had actually been staying underground. Jian Wushuang's soul power had always been spread out. However, it did not seep deep into the ground of the dark land. As such, he did not realize the existence of the star demons previously. However, at that very moment, as the star demons appeared from underground continuously, when Jian Wushuang used his soul power to scan the area, he realized that in his vicinity alone, there were more than thousands of star demons that had appeared. There were thousands of star demons. Moreover, most of them were matured star demons with horns. On top of that, there were also quite a number of three-horned star demons. Furthermore, the star demons were still coming out from the ground. I have to run away quickly. Read more chapter on novel full. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. When he realized that the star demons were coming out of the ground, he unleashed the secret skill of dragon blood to escape in the direction where he came from. The star demons which were at the bottom naturally noticed Jian Wushuang as well. As such, many star demons leaped high up in the sky and chased after Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's speed was extremely fast. Moreover, he had also unleashed thousands upon thousands of shadows. These shadows were moving in all directions crazily, and they had also attracted the attention of the star demons. A huge number of star demons could be seen throwing themselves onto the shadows. It is fortunate that the star demons are unable to distinguish me from my shadows. Thus, no matter how many of them there is still hope of me escaping by using my martial art motion. Jian Wushuang's expression was grave. However, all of a sudden, swoosh! A three-horned star demon with a body that was obviously larger than the other star demons appeared ahead of Jian Wushuang. Moreover, the most important thing was that the whole body of the three-horned star demon was crimson in color. Crimson star demon? Jian Wushuang was shocked. A three-horned green star demon could already rival top chaotic real god. As for a three-horned crimson star demon, it could rival human cultivators in the real god ranking list. A crimson star demon had actually appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Moreover, the crimson eyes of the crimson star demon had already locked onto him, and it was not confused by the shadows. Whoosh! A crimson, glittering light moved hastily and appeared directly in front of Jian Wushuang. Whoosh! A sharp claw headed for Jian Wushuang's throat, and its speed was unbelievable. Not good. Jian Wushuang's expression changed quickly. In a flurry, he used his sword principles to block the attack. Clang! The sharp claw struck the sword blade of the Blood Mountain sword, and an unreasonable amount of power burst forth abruptly. Moreover, the power was treading along the sword blade. Not only had Jian Wushuang been wearing the Blood Feather reincarnation armor, his body had also achieved the level of a chaotic real god. However, at that very moment, under the impact of the power, snap! Jian Wushuang's right arm was ripped off completely, and the Blood Mountain sword that he was holding in his hands was sent flying right away. Puff! Jian Wushuang spit out a mouthful of blood, and his body was blasted off like a shooting star. Along the way, he smashed into a number of star demons. Among those star demons, apart from a two-horned star demon which had slightly stronger abilities, the other star demons were turned into blood mist from the impact. It was only after a long time that Jian Wushuang regained his posture. Run! While suppressing the extreme pain in his body and disregarding his right arm, which had been ripped off, as well as his Blood Mountain sword which was sent flying, Jian Wushuang turned around and escaped quickly. After all, even if his weapon were lost, he could still think of a way to get it back. However, if his life were lost, everything would be lost. Moreover, due to the presence of the Crimson Star Demon, Jian Wushuang did not escape according to his original path. Instead, he could only continue to escape deep into the dark region. However, a huge number of star demons were beside him and in front of him, totally stopping him in his tracks. Jian Wushuang was caught in a hopeless situation. Chapter 1668, Desperate Situation. Chapter 1668, Desperate Situation. I belittled the dark region. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth. He had already put the secret skill of dragon to play to a great extent as he was besieged and hemmed in by the star demon. In actual fact, he was cautious enough. After he entered the dark region, he had been spreading his soul power to his surroundings, and even part of the underground was within the coverage of his soul power. He didn't notice the existence of any star demons, nor did he notice any danger. Hence, he was courageous enough to chase after real god Ziyi. But, he had never thought about the star demons hidden underground. They were out of the coverage of his soul power. With real god Ziyi's explosion, the star demons hidden deep underground were startled and popped up. Then he was cornered in a desperate situation. What should I do? What should I do? Jian Wushuang constantly thought about the countermeasures. He was calm and composed and wasn't panicking from the desperate situation he was in. After all, a desperate situation like this was something he had encountered countless times before. The number of star demons is too huge and they were pressing in too closely. I didn't even have a chance to use Mountain River Map. Jian Wushuang's trump card, Mountain River Map. Once he performed 9 Province Seal and possesses the power to destroy the world, he could kill a large number of star demons on the spot. However, it wasn't easy to perform the trump card. He would at least require time to accumulate power. However, the star demons obviously wouldn't give him that chance. As for the secret skill of Star Palace, the secret skill of Star Place could only last for 1 breath when the number of star demons surrounding him was so huge. Even if he performed it, he reckoned it wouldn't be of much help. His 2 strongest trump cards were as such. As for his other tricks like his soul attack, if he were to be fighting against weaker star demons it would be fine. However, the crucial point was that there were tens of 3-horn star demons and hundreds of 2-horn star demons. Jian Wushuang's soul power was at the level of an eternal real god and it wouldn't pose a threat against 2-horn star demons. The other 2 secret skills of ancient god tribe wouldn't help him to shake off the danger before him either. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked down at the dark ground under him. On the cracked dark ground, there weren't any star demons that popped out anymore. To the underground. Jian Wushuang immediately snuck into the dark ground and plunged towards the underground. He knew that although star demons were extremely strong, they were different from human cultivators. They relied mostly on their sight power to hunt, unlike human cultivators who covered their surrounding with consciousness. As long as he went underground and got out of their sight, he could stand a chance to escape. His idea was great, but in the end, not long after he went underground, he immediately soared up from the underground. The underground in the dark region contains such strong corrosive power. Jian Wushuang looked unpleasant. He finally understood why the star demons in the dark region opted to hide deep underground. It was because there was a unique corrosive power in the underground. The deeper it was, the stronger the corrosive power was. It was so strong that Jian Wushuang's chaotic real god-level divine body couldn't withstand it. However, to Star Demon the corrosive power was an extremely great supplement. It was also the corrosive power that had nurtured them all this while. If I can't go underground then I shall try the river. Jian Wushuang spread his soul power to his extreme and he could feel that there was a huge river tens of thousand miles away. The river current was tempestuous and the river was in black. It looked unusually creepy. However, at the crucial moment, Jian Wushuang couldn't be bothered. He plunged down and fled into the black river without hesitation. The moment he entered the water, he felt a bolt of corrosive power as well. Luckily, although the river has corrosive power, the corrosive power isn't as strong as deep underground. With my divine body, I can just about withstand it, Jian Wushuang muttered as he plunged into the water. Although the countless star demons plunged into the river after Jian Wushuang, the moment he reached the bottom of the river and was covered by the water, they found it difficult to see Jian Wushuang's location. There's hope, Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. However, the surprise only lasted for a short while. Then Jian Wushuang noticed 2 figures that followed behind him. There were 2 tall 3-horned star demons and the 2 of them were a crimson red. They looked just like 2 crimson star demons. One of them had fought against Jian Wushuang earlier and inflicted a severe injury that broke his arm. He even lost his Blood Mountain sword because of it. When there was only one, it already caused such damage. Then, there were a total of 2 crimson star demons behind Jian Wushuang and their eyes were giving out crimson light. They weren't giving him a chance to escape and locked their gazes on Jian Wushuang even when they were in the river. Damn it. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but curse. Then he immediately made a decision. 2 crimson star demons. Jian Wushuang's gaze grew cold and there was a unique power that soared from within. That power was the power of Star Palace. Besides, between Jian Wushuang's eyebrows, there was a total of 6 gold ancient stars that revealed themselves. Along with Jian Wushuang's expression, the top 2 ancient stars broke apart. The secret skill of ancient god. Star destruction skill. The 2 ancient stars shattered and turned into a boundless power of ancient god that instantly flowed into Jian Wushuang's right index finger. In addition to Jian Wushuang's divine power and the power of stars, the finger suddenly gave out a resplendent, divine glow. Ancient God's 6th finger, Sun Corrosion. Rumble. A huge sun suddenly surfaced from under the river. The sun was extremely glorious along with having a terrifying power. The surrounding river water was evaporating at a terrifying speed. Ancient God's 6th finger. The 6th finger was performed by Jian Wushuang along with the secret of Star Palace and the prerequisite of him breaking 2 ancient stars. The power of the finger had already reached the extreme limit that a real god could achieve. Even the real gods on real god ranking list, there were definitely very few who could perform such a powerful attack. Then, the finger suddenly charged towards the 2 Crimson Star demons that were chasing after him. Then the 2 Crimson Star demons were drowned straight away. Just as Jian Wushuang performed Ancient God's 6th finger with his all to kill the 2 Crimson Star demons, in the deepest bottom of the river, Virum, there were 2 crimson lanterns that appeared from nowhere. The 2 lanterns were as glorious as the sun, but due to the existence of the prohibition, the light didn't spread. The power of Star Palace. An ancient yet deep voice was heard, but the voice didn't spread. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.